So let's dive into the ultimate data challenge. Ask yourself, how do you actually protect a president's medical data? Or the highly sensitive records of a Supreme Court justice? We aren't just talking about your standard healthcare compliance here. The stakes are staggering. Think about it. A single leaked allergy could literally ruin a state dinner, or worse, a mismanaged medical record could trigger a full-blown national security crisis. Managing this level of sensitive info takes way more than a basic IT checklist. It requires an ironclad, foolproof system.
To unpack all of this, we're grounding our entire explainer today in a really fantastic foundational text by Professor Richard Boateng. Specifically, we're looking at an extract from his 2025 book, Data Governance Made Easy. This gives us the rigorous academic baseline we need, because as advanced business analysts, you have to have a reliable toolkit to dissect and solve real-world data problems, and this book outlines exactly how to build those resilient systems from the ground up.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, defining data governance. Second, the 7 governance frameworks. Third, seeing these frameworks in action with the Apex Health case. And fourth, key lessons and pitfalls. Let's start right at the foundation with Section 1, defining data governance.
What's really fascinating here is how governance is framed. It's not just a list of IT rules, and it definitely isn't just setting up a robust firewall. It is a fundamental system of decision rights and accountabilities. Think of it as the constitutional law of your data ecosystem. It dictates exactly who can take what actions with what specific information, when they can do it, and under what circumstances. It's the ultimate playbook for managing data, not as some byproduct of IT, but as a critical strategic asset that demands human accountability.
So why do organizations pour millions into building these systems? Well, because the primary goals of data governance are literally foundational to modern business survival. Governance ensures data quality and consistency, which means leadership can actually trust the dashboards they look at every morning. It enables rapid, accurate decision-making. It guarantees compliance with strict legal obligations and drastically reduces risk. All of this proves that governance is an essential triad of people, processes, and technology. Without governance, your massive amounts of data just become a massive liability. But with everything working in perfect harmony, governance fosters a truly data-driven culture where information becomes your greatest asset. Okay, moving right along to Section 2, the 7 governance frameworks. Let's open up that analytical toolkit. Each of these 7 frameworks has a specific superpower designed to solve entirely different problems. Dama Dimbach is your encyclopedia. It gives you foundational, holistic guidance across 11 different data management disciplines. Then there's the DGI framework. This one is super practical and mission-driven, perfect for settling those classic turf wars between operational teams over who actually owns a dataset. Next is COBIT. This is basically the auditor's best friend, giving you rigorous IT controls to definitively prove you are managing data safely. Then we have CMMI's DMM, which acts like a growth chart. It tells you exactly where your organization currently stands and maps out the capability growth you need to level up. ISO 38500 is your executive mandate. It provides top-down principles so the board of directors isn't just flying blind. TOGAF acts as the city planner, ensuring data architecture is baked directly into the broader business strategy. And finally, CDMC brings modern, granular controls built specifically for cloud and hybrid environments. The secret to being a great business analyst is knowing exactly which of these 7 tools to pull for which job. Now, to really understand these tools, we need to apply them. Let's pivot to Section 3, Frameworks in Action, with the Apex Health case. So Apex Health is a premier hospital in Ghana, but it's not just any hospital. They serve a highly sensitive clientele, political leaders, the judiciary, the presidency itself. The stakes here are just astronomical. They absolutely have to comply with Ghana's Data Protection Act, Act 843, while guaranteeing 0 preventable data breaches. None. So how do we architect a system that guarantees that? Let's see how we'd use our frameworks for this incredibly sensitive environment. The contrast between DAMA and the DGI framework is a brilliant example of how we combine tools. For a facility like Apex Health, we use DAMA to design the comprehensive security ecosystem. DAMA builds the secure house. On the flip side, we use the DGI framework to assign the keys. DGI helps us decide exact decision rights and human accountability. For example, if the president is incapacitated, DGI forces the hospital to define in advance exactly which chief medical officer has the authority to unlock that record and who is accountable for that emergency access. Next, we've got to handle the dynamic between executive governance and IT management. We use ISO 3850 to empower the board of directors.
ISO gives the board the framework to evaluate, direct, and monitor, ensuring the ethical tone starts at the top. But look, the board isn't touching the servers. To actually improve that security on the ground, we bring in COBIT 2019. COBIT bridges the gap, providing the rigorous IT controls and auditable metrics necessary to prove to regulators that Apex Health is fully compliant. Building on those controls, we apply the CMMI DMM model. This charts a really clear evolutionary path. Because a hospital serving parliamentarians cannot survive at level 1 where practices are just ad hoc and reactive. No way. CMMI guides them step by step. First to level 3, where processes are standardized hospital-wide. Then to level 4, where security is meticulously measured with quantitative data. Ultimately, we're aiming for level 5, an optimized state where they are continuously innovating ahead of new threats. But where does this sensitive data physically live, and how do doctors actually use it? That tension between security and usability is solved by TOGAF. Using TOGAF, analysts can design dedicated, highly secure data enclaves, essentially digital vaults, specifically for presidential data. More importantly, TOGAF ensures these vaults integrate seamlessly into the broader hospital network. That means doctors can still access life-saving information swiftly in an emergency without trying to bypass security protocols. Finally, even if Apex Health keeps all its servers securely on-premise, leveraging the CDMC framework gives them a modern, ironclad defense. CDMC introduces incredibly granular data classification. We're talking level 0 for public hospital hours, all the way up to level 6 for top-secret presidential medical data. It enforces strict role-based access control and end-to-end encryption. Crucially, it uses automated data loss prevention. So if a doctor accidentally tries to email a highly classified record outside the network, the system literally blocks it in its tracks. Having seen how powerful these frameworks are, let's transition into our final section: key lessons and pitfalls. Look, as future analysts, you have to know why these systems fail in the real world. Rolling out some overly complex framework too fast? You're going to cause immense change fatigue and paralyze the organization. Lacking executive buy-in means your initiative won't have the budget or the teeth to enforce anything. And if you focus solely on technology but ignore organizational culture, people will just write their complex passwords on sticky notes and attach them to their monitors. And above all, never treat data governance as a temporary project. It is a permanent operational shift. So, your key takeaways today. First, context is king. You absolutely must tailor your framework to your specific industry, just like we did for Apex Health. Second, executive sponsorship is non-negotiable. Get the board involved early. Third, always frame your governance around business value and risk mitigation. Show leadership how you are protecting the bottom line. And finally, iterate. Effective governance is an ongoing journey, not a final destination. We've covered a ton of ground in this explainer today, from the core definitions of data governance all the way to applying these 7 frameworks in a literal life-or-death environment. So I want to leave you with this thought. As you step out of this classroom and into the boardroom, which framework will you pull from your analytical toolkit to solve your next high-stakes challenge? Think about it. Thank you so much for joining me, and I absolutely cannot wait to see the robust data strategies you all build in the future.
Apex Health operates from a high-security enclave in Ghana, managing a data network where every node is subject to a zero-tolerance policy for exposure. This security posture is dictated by a clientele that includes the Presidency of the Republic. The hospital also serves the high courts, holding the medical histories of the nation's judiciary, and it is responsible for the sensitive health records of parliamentarians. These operations are governed by Ghana's Data Protection Act of 2012, known as Act 843. This law mandates strict handling protocols for all personal information, with no exceptions for high-profile individuals. At this level, a leaked allergy profile or an unauthorized access log triggers a cascade of national security and diplomatic consequences. Managing these risks requires data governance. Professor Richard Boateng defines this as a system of decision rights and accountabilities for information-related processes. Governance is distinct from IT infrastructure. It exists independently of the physical server racks, the firewalls, or the encryption software. It is the logic that answers who has authority over a record, what policies dictate its movement, and how access is granted. Securing VVIP data requires a synthesis of multiple frameworks to ensure every decision is documented and every vulnerability is addressed by a specific rule. These frameworks organize the hospital's data flow, transforming raw patient information into an enterprise asset that satisfies both the Data Protection Act and the hospital's strategic mission. We start with DAMA DMBOK2. This central hub for data management ensures metadata, security, and quality are integrated. Using DAMA, the hospital establishes a data governance office and assigns a data owner to each domain. The head of cardiology, for instance, becomes accountable for cardiovascular records. The owner is supported by a data steward, like a senior nurse or lab manager, who oversees the daily application of quality and security rules. While DAMA maps the landscape, the Data Governance Institute, or DGI, framework makes those roles operational. DGI is used to create RACI matrices, which explicitly define who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed for every information-related process. If a president requires emergency access, the DGI matrix dictates exactly which physician lead authorizes the request and which security officer monitors the logs. DAMA provides the comprehensive landscape of the hospital's data, while DGI sets the strict rules of engagement for moving through it. Apex uses COBIT 2019 to operationalize these rules, establishing IT controls and risk assessments needed to withstand an audit. Under COBIT, every access point to VVIP data is mapped directly to Act 843 requirements, demonstrating compliance through a verified automated log. However, simple compliance doesn't account for the growth of a facility's capabilities. For that, Apex looks to the CMMI Data Management Maturity Model. The CMMI model is a diagnostic tool that benchmarks current data management on a scale from level 1 to level 5. At level 1, processes are ad hoc. If a clerk handles a parliamentarian's data differently than a judge's, they create an inconsistent, high-risk environment. The goal is level 4, where security and access protocols are quantitatively managed and the results are predictable across the entire institution. While COVID addresses today's legal obligations, the CMMI model sets a technical trajectory that anticipates future security threats. Data governance originates at the board level. ISO standards 38500 and 38505-1 codify the legal and ethical accountability of the hospital's directors. Following the EDM model, the board does not configure hardware. They evaluate the data strategy, direct management on its execution, and monitor the resulting compliance. Those strategic directives are translated into physical systems using TOGAF, an enterprise architecture framework. TOGAF uses the architecture development method to ensure boardroom policies result in actual network segmentation. This process ensures logical classifications for VVIP data dictate the creation of isolated, heavily guarded server enclaves for presidential records. ISO sets the strategic mandate from the board of directors, while TOGAF engineers the resulting network security in the data center. Even in an on-premise facility like Apex Health, the hospital applies the Cloud Data Management Capabilities Framework, or CDMC, to implement modern defense in depth. CDMC provides for automated sensitive data discovery, which scans the network to ensure no VVIP records are residing in unauthorized or hidden folders. It enforces granular access entitlements and strict data loss prevention protocols, preventing the unauthorized copying or exfiltration of health files. Finally, it mandates end-to-end encryption, securing VVIP records both while they are stored in the database and as they move across the internal network. This ensures that even if the network perimeter is breached, the data itself remains inaccessible to unauthorized users. In practice, high-security organizations never rely on a single framework. They survive by synthesizing specific elements from each of them to cover their unique risks. A common error is attempting to reach level 5 maturity immediately. This often leads to analysis paralysis, stalling the governance program before the first controls are even installed. Without active sponsorship from the board of directors, these initiatives lack the cross-departmental authority required to change how doctors and administrators handle data. Treating governance as a technology purchase while ignoring the necessary changes in organizational behavior inevitably leads to a security failure. A data fortress is only as effective as the humans operating it. If the staff does not understand the rules, the architecture cannot protect the patient. In data governance, context is king. The rigid architecture required for the presidency at Apex Health would be counterproductive for a retail brand. Governance is a continuous, evolving program. It is not a project with a fixed completion date. Effective frameworks prioritize clinical outcomes and patient safety over administrative compliance. For hospital leadership, these frameworks serve as the mechanism to verify the security of their patients and the integrity of their data strategy.
Welcome, graduate business analytics students.
Good evening, class.
Good evening, bro.
Good evening, Prof. Good evening.
Well done. Welcome and well done for participating in today's class. Today we will be delving into data governance frameworks. Understanding last week we talked about data governance, we talked about its relevance. And then this week our objective is to delve into what the governance is and then how to be able to govern our system. So how do we choose a data governance framework and apply it? There are a number of things that we'll look at. Understanding the difference between the framework and DG itself. What DG and what DGF? DG and DGF. Understand the components of a DG framework. Understand the different types of frameworks that tend to be dominant and relevant to our level of a program. There could be more. In fact, there are more. Different institutions have their own versions. Other global institutions have also developed others. But there are generic things that we want to see in every data governance framework. To be able to understand data governance frameworks, we can't actually do it in a vacuum. So we apply it to a hospital called Apex Health that focuses on providing healthcare in Ghana for parliamentarians, politicians, and the presidents. So you can imagine the level of security that's needed in such a hospital. And that would be a very interesting case for us to understand. Our course summary or session summary that you watch in video was to just highlight the frameworks that we are going to do and then give you a preliminary understanding so that you can engage in class. In the chat room, in the classroom right now, if you guys can confirm, there is a document called Data Governance Framework, PDF document that has been placed. It's a resource that I have that I give to the students. I've not put them on Sakai yet, but there's a version of it on Sakai, but this is the very detailed one. So I'll share the detailed one with you through the class chat room. Please, have you seen it? If you have seen it, you can raise your hand if you have downloaded it. So that when we are going through it, you can also be going through alongside. Please, have you downloaded it? It's in the chat room, in the classroom, not on Sakai, not on WhatsApp, in the chat room, in the classroom right now. Let me see by hand those who have been able to download it to use it. Yeah, I've seen two thumbs up. Only two people have it. Amina, do you have it? Oh, yeah, you tell me you are driving. Dr. C, my friend, do you have it?
Prof,
Sharon.
no, please.
No, Prof.
No, bro. But Sharon, is it not showing in the document in the chat room?
No, Prof. It's not showing for me.
Okay, then let me drop it again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Unless some of you joined late, so maybe sometimes these things happen. When you join late, you may not have access to something that was previously shared. I don't know why. I don't know why this particular platform does that. Our friend here. I don't know why it does that. Okay. Please check it again. Check your everyone. Check the chat room again.
Prof, please, I have it now. Thank you.
Yeah,
You
Prof,
have
please,
it
I
now.
also have
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. David Ahmad, do you have it?
Yes, Prof.
David, you are an active person in class. Don't tell us you don't have it.
Yeah, I have it. I have it.
You have it. Okay. Or you are asleep. There's no match for you to go and watch today. Oh. Please. So pay attention.
Yes, please.
Why is your voice low? Are you tired?
I'm active, pa. 1212.
So you have seen it now. Thank you. Nicole Morgan, have you seen it?
Yes. Sir.
Okay. Good. Victor Ajanu, have you seen it? Victor. Stella Comey, have you seen it?
Yes, Prof, I have it now.
Thank you very much. So let's go. So by the time we finish, you'll be able to appreciate the different types of models that exist and then know how to apply them. Okay, good. Now, so should in case you go to an organization and one of the mornings they ask you that come and govern our data, what is the first thing that will come into your mind? Come and govern our data. Just in case they tell you that come and govern our data, what is the first thing that will come into your mind? Yes, anyone. Microphone, what will the first thing that will come into your mind when they say come and govern our data? Come and govern our data. Your CEO tells you come and govern our data for us. What will come into your mind? If I call you appear you are not in class, then it's better you are not in class. So I'll put you in the waiting room. Okay. So microphone is not in class. Okay. Yeah, David Amma.
Yeah, Prof. So they want me to probably create systems to own the data that they have, or if possible, create a system again. Sorry, to kind of like have policies or rules that are guided with it. So I'm basically in charge of, just like we have governments of Ghana governing the, I'm using the same word, but rather
Understand.
ruling. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. So they want you to put in systems and rules that will enable you to be able to govern data. That's what you are saying. That's good. Because data governance itself is about decision rights and accountabilities. Who has the right? Who is accountable for what? For the information. When you say the rights and accountabilities, one, who may take action? With which data? At what time? Or in what circumstances? And by what method? The overall management of the availability of the data, the usability of the data, the confidentiality of the data, the integrity of the data, the security of the data is what we call data governance. The blueprint that enables us to do so operationally is what we call the framework. So let's understand it. First of all, we talk about data governance. Data governance is the decision rights, the accountability, the information for information. So who do you want to take action on data? What type of data are you assigning to that person? In what circumstances? By what method? Availability, usability, integrity, and security. And then when you talk about all of these things and put them together, the question that comes is that where is the blueprint for us to do so? Where is the blueprint for us to do so? Where is the blueprint for us to do so? So the blueprint for us to do so is what we call the data governance framework. So somebody said the document that will be embedded for to give us the guidance is what we call the data governance framework. So governance is like the DVLA rules concerning the driving and the sign and the different signs road signs and what they mean. The framework is actually the road that we are on, the signage that we actually see in a physical format, and the traffic police that will enforce those rules. So governance is people, process, and technology coming together and then working in with their specific rules to ensure that the data itself is governed or driving on the road is safe. If I should put that way. Now there are different components that can come into a governance framework. Every blueprint should have certain things in it that helps you to understand where you are going. So the blueprint will obviously want to look at the vision and goals. The vision and goals. The blueprint will also want to talk about the clear objectives, the business case, why the kind of systems we have, the domains of the system. Some is for in a hospital, some is for clinical, some is for healthcare record, some for pharmacy, some is for specific sections of the hospital, like should I, if I should say, for example, the surgery, or even for specific type of clientele, those who are looking at fertility issues. So they could have so many types of data that exists in the organization, in the hospital, and different domains. The roles and responsibilities tend to highlight or signal those who will be the human um, um, human aspects of the framework. Who is going to oversee it? The council, the owners, the CEOs, the custodians. Somebody may even add the chief data officer, the users, all with their stated responsibilities, all with their status also. So kind of doing the stakeholder analysis and then identifying what each stakeholder will do. Kind of doing the stakeholder analysis and identifying what each stakeholder will do. So we need to appreciate these dimensions of the data governance framework. Then the policy and standards itself will come. Then the processes and procedures, workflows for quality, how we are going to achieve access, and then issue resolution, compliance reporting. All these dimensions play a very key role in defining what our data governance framework is. Then I mentioned the logical groupings of data. That's what we call the domain for the different groups. The life cycle. Data goes through a step-by-step process to get into an organization. So what are the steps that you'll be going through, and how do we govern those steps? Then what tools will enable this to be done? What kind of security technologies are we deploying? What kind of mechanisms are we putting in place to even examine the metadata of the data? And then the quality management, the dimensions of quality that we want to have agreed to, and the threshold of quality that's acceptable for operations in the organization, profiling, cleansing, and how do we have a means of monitoring the data day by day or as we go on. Okay. Then it doesn't also end there. We have the security and compliance, our security protocols, regulatory alignment. Sometimes the regulation may come from even the country level and inform what we are doing within the organization. Sometimes I come from the industry because we belong to maybe the banking sector. There may be certain things in which our regulator being the Bank of Ghana may emphasize that we should actually adhere to. So these things will come up very seriously whenever we are dealing with data governance. Then the catalog, the metadata of the data, there's a searchable inventory of all the definitions, glossaries covering the data. Our metrics and for monitoring it, our metrics for monitoring it. Then we continue on is the communication and training. Communication and training. How we communicate this data framework, how we make it available to others. How do we break it down that all the members understand it and even internal and external stakeholders understand it so that they can be able to adhere to it? I can't adhere to something I don't understand, so I need to understand it. And that's what communication and regular training. As different things come up, sometimes different scenarios come up and organizations have to respond to it. So what do we do when such a thing, something comes up? What awareness programs are you putting in place? What change management? Because some people's roles will be influenced by the policy, by the framework that we have deployed. So please, this is what we call the 11 shared components of the data governance framework. Now, every particular framework we are going to discuss tends to focus on some of the elements here. So some of them will use 7, some will use all the 10 or 10 of the 11 here. Others will use only just 6. Others will use maybe 3 or recategorize them into 3 main parts. So all the different frameworks you are going to get exposed to or get an exposition on today, you will see combinations of these components at play. Now, if you were a data governance officer, let me start with David. You were the one who talked earlier. Which of these which three of them, these components will matter to you in deploying the work for your organization? Which three of them will matter to you a lot?
So I'll go with security and compliance.
Okay.
Then I'll choose policies and standards.
Policies and standards. Okay.
And then the last one I'll probably go with is either communication and training, but I'll choose roles and responsibilities, because in roles and responsibilities, I can tell or write who is doing what, so that they know what they're supposed to do inside. So it's still communicating in a way.
That's very good. That's a very good combination. Would you believe that communication training is almost out of almost all the other policies? Just one or two, I think, so has it. They may not even have it explicitly like this. They may have it embedded in one of the activities that they may recategorize. So I'm not surprised that you jumped that one and went to roles and responsibilities, because somebody can add it to roles and responsibilities. Okay. Abrakwa Benis, which of them, these three, will matter to you?
Okay, sure. So, security and compliance will matter to me. Policies and standards will also matter to me a lot. And vision, goals, business alignment.
Mission, goals, business alignment. Okay. That's interesting. Yes, that's interesting. Kumsin, I mean Evangelina Kumsin, what about you? What will be your focus? Kumsin. Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, we are listening to you, Kumsin.
Security and compliance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Security and compliance. Play a key role too. Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. Good. Now, the framework is a system, not the menu. The list looks long, but the components reinforce each other. For example, when you have a strong metadata, that helps to make classification possible. When classification is also defined, then access control becomes possible. When access control be defined, then we can be able to assign it to roles. When roles are defined, then we can do the training. So David was right by saying that when I have my roles, I can do my training. So some will rather start with things to do with the metadata, go to classification, go to access controls, go into roles, and then end up in training. If you cut any of this link off, the whole idea is that you have a partial adoption that could actually cost you. Good. So there are quite a number of them. The handbook I gave you discusses 7 of them. So you are going to quickly go through the 7 and then apply it to an institution of choice. Go through the 7 and apply it to an institution of choice. Okay. So the first one is the DAMA DM book, that's data management body of knowledge. The developer is called the DAMA College. The developer is called the DAMA College. Sorry, the Data Management Association, DAMA International, sorry. Now, DM block is strictly not a framework, but it's more of a comprehensive toolkit that helps you to cover 11 knowledge areas of data management, from from the data quality issues to the issues to do with the data management itself. And it doesn't only just end there. It goes through security, metadata management, architecture, and so many other dimensions. Now, the 11 dimensions emphasize that governance is a central function in the organization, and we cannot be able to do it well if we don't know the interconnectedness of the 11 knowledge areas. It is holistic in nature. That means I can't do some part and leave some part. It oversees the whole organization in these 11 areas. And it is always good for us to be build. It's a good framework for building, establishing governance for an industry. So kind of foundation guidance. If Bank of Ghana was going to develop a data governance framework for the banking sector, it would be advisable to start from the DAMA DM block, because you can define it as the baseline, not the ceiling, the baseline, the minimum that is required for across all the banks. So that will be this major strength. Please, when I say explain, always think about what is the strength of this framework, so that when I'm given a scenario in life, I know which framework I can use. So the first one is that we appreciate that the DAMA DM block is good when we establish a framework for a set of related institutions. That could or firms or companies. That could be across, that become the foundational guidance, foundational guidance framework for all the members in that industry. I will go for the DAM because of its holistic nature, and it covers several issues that matter to institutions. Now, this limitation is that it lies describing but doesn't prescribe. So it will cover so many different things, but it might not prescribe. You may need another framework like a DGI to do prescriptions for each of the things that it is describing. And you see it at play when we are looking at the example in this particular session. So the real work is about turning it into the prescriptive principles, prescriptive clauses that will guide the organization. That's step-by-step clauses that will guide the organization. That's why I say it is very efficient for a foundational perspective, so that everybody would understand this is the baseline. Then when they go into their individual institutions, they can actually establish the step-by-step principles or guidelines that will inherit understanding or its life or spirit from the foundational guidance coming from the DM book. Now, the DGI is a data governance framework that was funded by Gwen Thomas. Now, the objective of establishing DGI as a framework was to provide a practical. Let us go away from all these 11 foundational principles or foundational guidance framework from the DAMA teaching team, and let's move towards something which is much more prescriptive, practical. 11, 10 universal components necessary for a data governance program. Now, their strength is that let's make it easy for people to understand and apply in the organization, especially for those who are now starting up the whole governance discussions in the organization. This is the pathway to start. So a beginner in data governance will go here. Even a beginner firm that is now starting off and doesn't understand, is now establishing even its IT policies and everything, that would be a very good way to look at governance. Start from the DGI framework. Practical implementation, clear roles, responsibilities, and repeatable processes that are easy for people to just follow. Goes lighter on deep discipline, specific techniques such as data quality methods than DM. So what you see here is that it might end up giving you something simpler for you to start following. This one is very detailed, descriptive positions as the DAMA DM Bob could have done. This guy will go a more practical, simplistic approach to looking at data governance in the organization. So if I was going if I'm a startup firm, if I'm a beginner to data governance, I would like to start with the DGI framework. The next one is the COBIT. COBIT is for someone, an institution that is compliance driven, somebody like an industry that is really compliance driven, maybe an audit industry, and has audit heavy, is an audit heavy organization. So there's a lot of auditing taking place. And precision is matters importantly because of the fact that there are several compliance things that they are supposed to adhere to. So this could also be another, can be seen in the financial sector. It can also be seen in the insurance sector. Firms that are heavy on auditing, heavy on compliance. Now, the corporate itself is developed by ISACA. ISACA is an acronym for an organization. You can Google it and know it. Corporate is a broader governance framework that includes processes relevant to data governance. While not solely focused on data, its principle for managing information, ensuring compliance, and aligning business goals are highly applicable to data governance initiative. And COVID-5 and COVID 2019 have specific processes for managing data. Now, COVID means control objective for information related technology. So it goes beyond just managing data. But the 2019 version of the documentation of COVID or prescriptions from COVID has the processing for data specific things, specific issues. So it will cover IT governance, it will cover risk management and compliance with strong applicability to data and information governance. Its objective is that it wants to manage the risk, control, and compliance, making it suitable for organizations with mature IT environments and audit needs. Primarily, an IT governance framework, which includes extensive practice for data governance. So it goes beyond just data governance to look at IT governance. People are going to answer that, but probably they're like, yes, the way we do governance for data, we have governance for IT infrastructure. IT infrastructure. So the governance for data will focus on more of the data policies that function on data. But governance on IT will focus much more on the IT related rights and responsibilities and accountability, in which data is one of the components. Good. So the COVID 2019 kind of have its acronym as being a control room, a control focus room that wants to establish strong data relevant content organized around data governance and management objectives. And the three things you see in it is risk, compliance, and alignment with the business. Risk, compliance, and alignment with the business. So the CMMI Institute is the data management model. We will call the CMMI Institute developed the DDM model, that's the data management maturity model, that provides a framework for organizations to assess and improve their data management capabilities. So it's much more of trying to assess the organization and improve it. So if you have a data management, data governance framework already, and you think that there is a need for you to review it, one of the models that could have done an easier job for doing the review is the DMM framework or the CMMI DMM model. That's the data management maturity model. The word management maturity tells you that it is going to give you the evolutionary path for you to look at where is your organization? Which level is your organization? Are you in level 1, level 2, level 3? So that you can be able to know what you should be able to do to move to the next level. So it's an assessment of what you have in your organization. Even if you have no governance, there's a level for you. So the DMM establishes where I am. What is my level? And somebody's understood that what is your level? So what is your level? And how can you be able to develop and go to the next steps? And what is the optimum level that your organization should be targeting? It is resource intensive. You need to spend much more time in getting this thing done. Okay. This microphone guy, he's still in the uh, he's still in the what's the name? He's still in the waiting room. It seems he has switched on his computer and left it and gone somewhere. But he doesn't even know he's in the waiting room. Okay. So somebody is asking a question. Is COVID-19 COVID's brother? No. While COVID-19 did not create a framework, the pandemic massive disruption pushed many organizations to heavily on COVID-19. Companies use the framework to adapt to remote and ensure business continuity. Okay. Manage sudden digital transformation and secure IT operations. This is the IT dimension of COVID, the COVID framework. So you see, he didn't mention anything about data here. It talked about more of IT infrastructure. That's why we say that it is looking at IT infrastructure, risk compliance, and then alignment management objectives. So the management of organizations wanted to ensure business continuity. COVID was a framework that guided them to do so. So thank you, David. Okay, I don't see any other questions. So let me go continue. So having levels means that the DMM, that's the data maturity model, has a stage measurable progression from ad hoc practice to optimized governance. So that's why you see the minimum is the ad hoc practice. The maximum, which I think is level 5 or level 6, is the optimized governance. Then we go to those who are executives. If an executive management want to look at data governance, which framework will help them? To have executive oversight and strategic alignment, a model that comes to mind is what we call the ISO 38505-1 framework. Now, it is coming from as principles or steps that are defined by the ISO institution or the International Standards Organization. What they tend to do is that they prescribe what is relevant for governance of IT. But then -5 is for data governance. It's just like the COVID having COVID-19 having an opening for all IT infrastructure. There are components of the framework that looks at data. The same here for ISO. ISO has 38505-1 looking into the principles for data governance. It focuses on governing the governing body's role in directing, evaluating, and monitoring the organizational approach to data. It has 6 key principles, and they encourage executives to ask questions alongside this one. So currently, who is responsible for our data? Then they will evaluate in the organization. They will ask the question, the board will ask the question, then they will interrogate it within the board meeting through the IT manager or the CTO and the CISO and all those people who are there to be able to do. Then they'll go to the next one. They'll go to the next one. Where the board is not conversant with this technology, they can set up a different subcommittee to do this analysis for them and advise the board. Then the board can then make decisions. Because it's not all boards across the world of organizations that are IT heavy. Sometimes even the whole team is not I know IT conversant. It may be just one person, maybe the CTO who is representing the IT discussions on the board. But if the board sees that they cannot do this extensive examination assessment, they may have a smaller a different committee that will do the report to the board. Now, its strength is that the principles for data governance are discussed at the board and executive level so that they can align the data strategy, the governance strategy of data with the business priorities, which is very, very good. So by the time the board has finished, when they approve these things, there is direction for the organization, there's approval. Some of the other frameworks, you have to finish it, go and then discuss it to the board, and then try to sell it to the board that we need to X a number of maybe dollars to buy this a number of compliance tools to ensure that we are compliant. However, this is being discussed at the board already. So in principle, by the time we finish and accept this data governance framework, we know we're going to allow or instruct the organization with the capacity and resources to be able to do so. So quite a number of institutions who are executive heavy may want to give executive understanding to data governance, and this is the model they would like to apply it. It's so giving strategic executive oversight so that it's aligned to the business priorities. Now, the last but one has to do with this cloud management, data management capabilities. It's called done by the EDM. Now, in an era of cloud control, where data becomes cloud heavy, meaning that it is stored in the cloud, it is accessed to the cloud, it is transferred to the cloud. It's coming to the situation where we have to have policies that are cloud heavy or cloud focused. Because of that, an organization called the EDM thought to provide the principles to manage and protect data in the cloud. Because some of the other frameworks discuss data in its generic form, not looking at the fact that when you come to cloud infrastructure, certain specific principles may be needed. It doesn't mean that the other ones cannot look after it, look after data in the cloud. But what they are trying to say that now we are getting organizations becoming cloud heavy. Can we assess our current data governance framework or principle to be aligned with or ready for cloud protection or have cloud governance embedded in it? So it will give you what is necessary for cloud management in terms for the standardized areas that we have mentioned as classification of the data, access to the data, and encryption of the data. Now, it requires you to have 14 capabilities to be heavy, to be to be efficiently govern your data from the cloud perspective, like the data ownership, the data lineage, the data protection. I think data transfer is even part of it in hybrid and multi-cloud environments. Now, it is for cloud native or hybrid organizations. Now, somebody said, but currently almost everybody is becoming cloud native. Yes. So what we are trying to say is that in your institution, have certain things concerning managing cloud type of data. Because not all data in the organization that may be on-prem. Others may be quite a number of them may be in the cloud. Then we go to the TOGAF framework. TOGAF takes a whole different approach in looking at data governance. Now, the open group architecture framework, TOGAF, talks about the fact that we need to build an enterprise architecture from day one that has data governance as part of its foundational principles. So governance is developed at the architecture of the whole organization, at the architecture of the whole IT framework for the organization. When we start thinking about deploying IT in the organization, when we are at the blueprint, we factor in the governance of the data. So it is good for integrating data into business strategy. So a new firm that maybe start, who has got resources, may use TOGAF to make sure that before they deploy IT entirely in the organization, they have thought about data and how they'll capture it, how they'll manage it, how they integrate it, who will do it, who is accountable for it. All of them is built within. They are not waiting to create their first data set before they start thinking about it. It is in the enterprise architecture to ensure strategic alignment of business and data applications and technology. So the one dimension of the organization is the business. Another dimension is the applications that will develop to run the business. Another dimension is the technology infrastructure to empower the applications. Then another dimension is the data that will be generated, will be needed, generated, and transferred through the applications. So we are thinking about all these four from scratch. The business itself, the applications the business needs, the infrastructure to run the applications, and the data that runs through the applications. So you don't finish and then think about only there's the first three. Then one morning, wake up and you need data governance framework. Data governance is built into the very life of the organization. So if I have an enterprise architecture mindset with the objective of integrating data into business strategy, I'm going for TOGAF. If I have a governance at the executive level, an accountability mindset with the objective of establish strategic alignment at the executive level, I'll go for ISO 38505-1. If I have several multi-cloud environments, and my objective to make sure that the data governance team are cloud focused, are cloud ready, I would think about adding the cloud governance framework, CDMC. If I'm starting and I don't know where to start from, and I'm a new organization, but I don't have any resources to go for TOGAF because my architecture, my architecture is not that complex. I'm not thinking about very complex enterprise architecture like NHIS, which will serve the whole country. I'm just thinking about my small school that I have, and I'm trying to manage the data there, or my firm in Accra that I'm just trying to manage a very simple website, which is just selling, let's say, baby food or t-shirts online. I would just like to start with a practical step. What should I do step by step? If I'm confused that is my data governance even working? Where am I doing? What is my current practices? I need to do an assessment of where I am. I'll use the data management maturity model, the DMM model from CMMI, to be able to do that. Now, if I want to build a comprehensive baseline framework that will serve all the 68 branches of my of my rural bank, of my microfinance company, I will want to use a DAMA DM box to establish the foundational governance across all the 68 enterprises, or 68 microfinance institutions which belong to the mother institution called maybe medium finance. So medium finance with 38 different branches will establish a baseline one, a foundational one that all the IT managers in each of them would follow. He would like to go with at the institutional level, at the mother institutional level, he would like to establish a foundational guidance framework and to come from the DAMA DM book. Thank you very much. So let's look at very good questions. Mr. Boot, what's your full name?
Stephen Ofori, please.
Yes, you are the one recording. Okay, Steven, let's go ahead. How can I help?
Yes, Prof. So, looking at the various 7 frameworks, a thought just came to mind. Let's say maybe I'm an institution, and then I want to develop my governance policy for my institution. And let's say each of them has its strength and weakness. So is it possible to say maybe you might like to maybe combine or look at the strength of maybe one and combine it with another to be able to develop your own framework, or you strictly have to choose a particular framework that would go with with your institution?
Okay, so this is something that we are discussing as we go ahead. Organizations and principles, two types of things. One, organization in principle do not even follow a lot of this. They just look at the components they have and then they start dabbing ideas on, okay, let me look at Microsoft's own, then I copy small. Then let me go to this hospital and copy small. And then so do ad hoc development. And by the time they realize they have either heavy on one part and light on another part. Then there are those who, by understanding of the, like after training you here, when you go to your consultancy or your firm, you may want to consider combining. And there are those who combine. For example, at the beginning, if I've now finished the program, I go to my firm, I cannot just insist that we shall have data governance. There may be certain principles. So I would like to use the assessment model to start with, to know where we are and tell them that, look, where we are is not safe. We are now number 2. If we put in A, B, C, and C, we can go to number 3. In 2 years' time, we should be at number 5. So that one gives them a roadmap of where to go to. Then they can come back again and tell them that what DGI, what can we use? How can DGI help us move from level 2 to level 5? That is what I'll see you, somebody like you, Stephen, doing. Do you understand me? Okay, thank you. You understand. So the combination will happen, especially for informed people like you. But some of the IT managers do ad hoc engagement. Sometimes, if the person has not been trained in that area, he will Google it, and then the first one that comes, then you start following it. Now, some people have done through a number of IT audit certification, the CISO and the CISA and other ones. And in doing those ones, some of the models are highlighted. For like example, the ISO may be highlighted, the DM box may be taught, and the COBIT may be taught. Then maybe somebody may mention DJ. So not all of them will be taught. So through that particular course certification he did, he came exposed with this. And sometimes the other ones, like Microsoft has something too. So if you do a Microsoft certification, you may end up learning Microsoft. There's IBM to have certain things. So if you do an IBM certification, you may go through IBM. What we are trying to say is that on all the certifications and stuff for data governance, the components tend to speak to about the same thing. Whether you have the same name or you edit the name, the 11 components tend to matter. Is that understood as the foundation that we want to establish in this class?
Yes, bro.
Yes.
Yes, Prof.
Okay, thank you. Now, who is the classroom?
Prof, that would be Sir Wallace
That'll be
and
George.
It's you.
George and Wallace.
And both of them are not here.
I think Wallace is here.
When I ask you the classroom, he's quiet. Are you sure Wallace is here? He's in the room, but he's not here.
I'm here, sir. I'm here.
Have you been taking the role? Those who are contributing, people like Stevie, people like David.
Yeah, David has been taking the role. Anthony is there. Stephen has been also contributing.
Have you been taking the role on the Excel sheet and giving their marks like I've been telling you to do?
Yes, please.
Yo, I want the cumulative to the third week when you finish the class or by tomorrow morning. From week 1, week 2, week 3, in one Excel workbook. Then you just be adding the weeks like that.
Yes, sir.
You tell me yes, sir. Some people have been putting in effort to get marks.
Oh, please, how many marks do we get for contribution?
Every day you get 1 mark.
Hey.
As you say, listen to me, as you say one thing, and then the more times you talk in there, like David has talked like 5 times right now. He has, well, we should be on the 5th mark by now. So when you get to 7 from David, he can stop counting, then waiting for other people. But if you look at the semester breakdown at the end of the semester, it's 10 points. So out of the 100 over 100, 10 of it is this one. But in principle, it's more than 10. Because the 10 is the baseline. But when I say 10 marks, I mean by 10, 100%. For example, the examination, your group work is about 40%, the examination is 50%. The 10% else is for this thing that Wallace is keeping in track for me. Now, what happens in principle, like it can go beyond 10% because you will see it in the exams. And for example, when you mark and someone like David, all of a sudden something happens in the examination and he's getting 60. He doesn't need to get 60 because he has been participating in the class. At least he should get 78 or 79. So that is when something like this can come and make sure that he gets an A. But if you are sitting in class and you don't talk, you don't even mind us. We call you don't talk, you don't do like Michael Furey and stuff. Michael Furey should never be able to get above 70. He has to go and fight for below 60, below 70. I'm serious. So you people think I'm joking. Sometimes you can get all the answers right in exams, but when you look at your performance in this, that is only just 50%. So it's just 50 over 100 you have gotten. The group work will give you another 40%. Your participation will give you, for example, last year like this, some people didn't do well at all. But because of their activity in the examination, they scaled relegation. If you understand what relegation is, some marks are not good. So they don't, those who understand somebody's relegation is 60, somebody's relegation is 70. So they scaled relegation and they move to the other side. It's like the World Cup. You have to If it is being first is good, but if you are first and you go and play against Germany and they kick you out, it's up to you. So in your group, you can choose to be number 1, number 2, or number 3 with wisdom. You have to start, you have to have map it out. So you see that some of the teams they intentionally play some way be, and they'll be number 3, then they'll pass a different part, meet Canada, remove, meet Ecuador, remove, meet the time. Oh, the time when they are in finals. Say how they get to finals. They've been playing very, very weak teams till they go to finals. Then you want to play Argentina, go and play, and you think Argentina will sit down for you to remove, they'll remove you. Anyway, what I'm trying to say that be strategic. If you know examination will not go well for you, put in effort in the class so that at the end of the day, you can have backup marks from here. That's what I'm trying to say. Number 2, we are demonstrating understanding. Examination period, things happen to people and they can freeze or they may not write as much when you are coming, and that's the morning that your child or your taxi driver intends to disturb you. Last semester, I remember somebody came to write the paper. He was caught up in rain, and the rain beat him. And he came to examination hall, his mind was all over the place. So his best performance was not there. But his class and group performance, excellent. So that in such a scenario, I look at the whole entire examination, I cannot make him get a C or a B plus, a B. By more means, he should be a B plus person or an A person because of the effort that was put in the semester. We are assessing, you're not undergrad that we are assessing you by only examination. We are assessing you by all of the demonstrating understanding. Some of you were very eloquent. There was a lady, I've forgotten her name. She led her group to present. Was it Ellen or something like that? I've forgotten her name. She was very, very eloquent. She presented on behalf of her group. Forgotten her name. I don't think she's in this group. She did a good this semester. I've not even heard of her. I don't know whether she has dropped the program.
Erica.
Erica, good.
Erica. Yes, Erica.
Where is she? Have you seen her this semester?
No, she's not in this cohort.
I don't think I've seen her in any of the course. Maybe she has Japa. Need to go watch
Oh,
World Cup.
she's there. I think I've heard from her this
Okay, go and tell her that Hanan, I'm
And
giving you
what
an assignment.
happened to this?
Hanan, go and look for her for me. Tell her that Prof is looking for you, Erica.
Okay, so I'll tell her.
If you were able to find her for me, I'll give you 2 marks.
Yeah,
I'll
no,
send
really
it right
okay.
away. I'm just going to call her right now.
Hey,
Oh, I didn't
She
even know
was
she
in
has an
my
apple.
group.
Okay,
My
okay.
group she was presenting for.
Okay. Okay, then. So, which framework will you reach for? A mid-sized bank with a strong audit function must prove its controls to regulator. That's true. COVID-19. An early stage retail startup. So, an examination, I can give you something like this, and I'll say, discuss which of the organizations it should fit, and you have to explain and defend like that. An early startup retail wants simple rules. David, please remind me. I don't know the slide number for this slide. Let's see. This slide number 17 in chapter 3. That I'll set
okay.
a question on slide number 30. Remind me, I may forget. It's up to you. Slide number 17 and then one last two and Anthony as ready. So you can remind me. Slide number 17 for the chapter 3. A question will come from there. Okay. At early stage retail startup, one simple rules and clear fast rules. What will you do? DGI. A fintech, which is doing much cloud services, will do CDMs. A, conglomerate board, executive board, wants to own data oversight without micromanaging, ISO. A utility company wants to benchmark its practices and plan a stage climb. They want to assess where they are and see what they need to do. What do they need? They need a DMM, the data management maturity model. Please, do you understand it? So configure your organization and think of what you can do. Some of you, the nature of the institution you are in, you are already doing something. Someone, for those of you in the banking sector, like Hannah, like this, I believe that your institution has something already. I don't think this is the first time that your institution will be thinking about data governance. How they developed it, it could be ad hoc or a combination of these ones. And sometimes the organization even has its own way of developing because there's a mother institution. So or the unit you are in may have its own way of doing this. So I believe that there is something there in the organization. And I hope I'm right. Or unless you are asleep.
No, Prof, I'm not sleeping. I
Oh,
meant to
yes.
ask a question though, but I was waiting for you to complete your
But
statement.
the question I asked you, did you hear?
Yes, I did.
So what's the answer?
You said you believe that we are already doing search in our organization. It's true. So I meant to ask you because you answered to somebody that somebody asked whether you can combine two or three to make up the policy that he or she is looking for his organization. And you said depending on what he wants to do. But I'm looking at through all the ones you've given, and I meant to ask, can an organization have everything? Because I see bits and pieces in each of them around me. So it's
Okay,
making
so
it a bit.
what I'll say is that I don't think the segments about organization have all, but does organizations work tend to span the use of all of some of these items or dimensions? Yes. For example, an organization may have cloud infrastructure, so it may need some things on cloud. An organization will have executive, you may need an executive oversight. So an organization will have dimensions of all this for different units. Hence, they will draw on the understandings and the principles in all of them to do their work. I hope you understand. So, but if you're saying have all in terms of letter to letter in each of them, it's not. But have the spirit of all, yes. Have the spirit of all, yes. Or the objective of all, yes. But it would all depend on the different units and then the complexities there. For the banking sector, I'm not surprised. The banking sector, I'm not surprised. There'll be some things that will come that it is using the DM work principle. It's foundational. Everybody in the bank across Africa has to follow. So you can't do anything about it, especially the way EcoBank develops its website for internet banking. You go to the Africa website before you find your own. You go to the Africa, so you go and you choose internet banking, and to send you to the Ghana one. Sometimes that's how it is. But some of the people to have apps and stuff which are country based, original based.
Yeah.
So for different technologies, the internal capacity in the country may not be as the mother institution, which may be in Addis Ababa, or like Stanchart, which may be in somewhere in Middle East. So what we end up doing is that some things will come straight from the mother institution, or something, or the global office. Some things will be at the regional Africa office. Some things will be just Ghana. And because of the different levels of governance, we may have certain things apply and others don't apply. Okay. So this is the baseline that I just wanted all of us to have. Good.
Yes,
Now,
Prof. So that's what I wanted. From where I sit, because of the different countries that we deal with, we are like the central place. So depending on every country and their regulators and the rules they bring along, it still ends up with us having everything. Okay, so for the individual countries, yes, they will be having their various regulatory policies that they don't comply. But the organization also has its default regulations that it's in the interest of the way the organization works. Every country should have adopted it, but unfortunately, some countries don't allow, as you are saying. But because of where I sit, it's almost like everything is here, no matter the country. So that's why I was asking if we like the way you explain it, we have each and every one of them around us.
yes, that's why I've answered you, and you have also agreed with me. Depending on the role of the spirit of everything will be with you. But to follow letter to letter will be different. because the level of complexity is differs. If I show you the principle, let's go through the principle. Some of them has about 20, 40 steps in it. I don't think you do all the 40 steps. Because by the time you finish the 40 steps in one, a whole year would have taken place. And when will you be able to do another thing? Yes, Penel.
Okay,
Penel.
thank you, Prof. So, so hello, Prof. Can you hear me? Hello,
We can hear you. You are breaking here. We can hear
hello.
you. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sir. So, for example, in the banking sector, we have uh,
Yeah. But no, you are gone off. So it will be advisable to um type your question or
some
record the audio.
uh, international vendors on which all banks are.
So please, I'm telling him in the chat room to type his question because it's or you can record the audio and put it on WhatsApp. Somebody will play it and then tell us what he said. I think he's using a phone to join the class. Okay, let's continue. So the first thing we're going to do is the Apex Health, a premier hospital located in high security enclave near Ebri Gardens in Ghana. It delivers 360 integrated care, combining cutting-edge medical technology with therapeutic natural environments, including serene gardens, waterfalls. It serves a highly sensitive clientele, including political leaders, judiciary members, parliamentarians, and presidents. Please look at the way the thing is arranging them. So there's the presidency, there's the judicial, the parliamentarian, the politician. That's the actual level of authority again. So the politician, the latter one, the politician is the least. Then you have the parliamentarian, then you have the judiciary, and then the presidency. Please look at it very carefully. Okay. Now, the Dama DM block, if you're going to apply it to Apex Health, this is what will happen. So we would first of all want to think about establishing the governance hub. So Dama has a number of different hubs that come together. And the first hub is the governance hub. And that's the central part. Then it has another hub called the it's not even showing here. It has another hub called the good the data architecture, then the data modeling and design, the data storage, data security, the data integration and document and the reference. Okay. So if you look at it, I've got 12 of them being used yet, starting from the governance hub, which is the central one. Now, this one at this stage will tell us about the vision and the mission of the organization. So, for example, they will state that to be a gold standard in secure healthcare data management, tied especially to Act 843, which is coming from our Data Protection Act, and then and compliance and clinical data quality. So, on the healthcare sector, they are working on clinical data quality. Then, so that's the mission and the vision. Then they'll go to the goals and objectives. What do you want to achieve within the organization? We want to achieve 100% and maintain 100% compliance with data protection regulation, ensure 99% accuracy for clinical patient management data, clinical patient data elements like the identifiers for data information for patient information, allergies, current medication, primary diagnosis, all want 99% accuracy, 99.9% accuracy. Implement need to know access controls for all patient data. Establish clear, you see, all this is just descriptive. How you're going to do it is not telling you. Establish clear accountability for all key data domains. Develop and implement comprehensive data handling protocols. The one is at the very high level, specific to VVIP clientele. Foster culture of responsibility and security awareness among staff. Establish a data governance office. So that's one thing that you have to do. And that will have the chaired by the chief data officer or a senior executive with data oversight, like the chief medical information officer or chief information security officer. So it all depends on the type of institution. Then you have all the key members of the data governance council coming from across the institution or the hospital. This one, the heads of major clinical departments, heads of nursing, heads of IT, heads of legal and compliance, heads of administration, security representative, and then an external advisor, somebody like me, sitting there to be able to tell them where you are not seeing clearly. Okay, what you should be able to, as an external person, giving a very good oversight on what they are doing. They will define the data strategy, approve data policies and standards, resolve data related issues and conflicts. This is data, this is not IT. Please remember, this is data. Monitor compliance, champion data governance initiative, and secure funding. So they are even going to talk to senior management to be able to release money to support this. Giving the clientele, this council must operate with extreme discretion, but you have access to a lot of information. Then you have to define rules. So in defining rules, all of this is part of the central hub, the data governance. So the data owner, who is the data owners? Accountable for accuracy and security and confidentiality and proper use of the data within the domain. They own the data. Within their domain, they are doing domain-based ownership. So head of cardiology will be the head of the data, the owner of the data at cardiovascular patient data. And the head of presidential medical wing will own the data for those who come to the presidency. So that'll be the president, the vice president, those two and their family. Then maybe other presidents across West Africa or Africa. Data stewards, senior registers, specialist nurses, lead lab technologists, senior administrative. What are they doing? They're responsible for defining and producing and using data within specific areas. So they manage the data assets on behalf of the data owner. So data owner will not be doing operational level stuff. It's doing more policy level and giving direction, supervisory role. While the data steward is sitting with the data team, the other data workers to implement data quality checks, manage metadata, ensure adherence to policies. In a hospital like this, you'll be a medical officer, but you may have some data training too. For instance, a senior nurse in the VIP wing will be a data steward for the day-to-day VIP patient data entries and clicks. Part of what they do in a hospital like this, they give money to people to go and upgrade skills in data management and IT related courses because they don't want to bring just an IT officer just to come and manage data of this one. So the employees there are multifunctional in the technical knowledge of medicine, and then in the technical knowledge in basic IT or data management or related IT governance issues. They are not developing software, so they are not developers. They are using the data that is managing the data that the software runs on. Remember, I told you this in the TOGAF. There is a difference between having application and having the data. Okay. And then the data custodians. Data custodians are this where the typical IT managers will come from, and data administrators. And sometimes, for example, in this classroom, we have got medical doctors coming to do data analytics course. When a medical doctor like this finishes, he should be at either the steward or at the data owner level. He's not going to become the IT manager. So, for example, Dr. Say like this, I expect him to be at the IT, at the senior. If he was working in this hospital, he can be at the at the data chief data officer level, or he will be at the steward level because he has got the medical knowledge already. That's if his doctor is medical. I didn't check. Doctor say, is your doctor medical? Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think I can see some thumbs up. Yeah, good. So he would end up being knowledgeable in that area and may apply it in that sense. Then I've got the data users. Data users are those who access patient data. So usually front facing staff or front level staff, front desk staff, they will meet with you, lab technicians, they will put your data. Some companies, when they finish the lab work, they enter the lab details into the computer and then they print it out. So I always I've been asking myself, what did they type in the wrong thing? It's going to type 5, rise 3. So I can always be wondering about that. Because I've seen it happen in many even senior hospitals. They'll finish the experiment, then they'll write the thing on paper, then they'll come and type it into a web-based document and print it for you. Some new hospitals and some hospitals with better infrastructure have the thing picked from the lab straight. It picked from the system that did the. For example, if you are doing full blood count, a whole device machine will do it for you, and then the print out is integrated, so it will just print it out for you. But where it is has to, people will have to do things and measure, and then come and write the numbers down. Hey, it's scary. I don't know if anybody has gone through that in hospital before. You see them writing your hospital data lab results out. They write it out, then they type it on Word. They just delete the old one, then they type it there. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, so I actually had this experience where it was a mistake. I knew my blood group already. But when they did the blood group and then they gave me a wrong blood grouping, I asked them, why have they written a wrong one? So they now have to go back and try and fix it out before giving me the correct one.
Yeah. What she says is very, very true. So please, when you go and collect lab, sometimes intentionally ask for a printout because they will say they have sent it to the doctor but they have entered it manually. When you tell give it to print it to the doctor, they will have to give you a copy so you have an idea of what they typed and give to the doctor.
Oh, sorry. With what you are saying, in Ghana, the doctors and nurses, it seems like even knowing your own data is even a taboo. They get angry immediately you start asking questions about yourself. But these are some of the things. Sometimes because they may mistakenly give you a wrong prescription or something, you can't see. And if you ask, they will not be willing to also give it to you. So that's the
Data
challenge
prote-
sometimes.
the Data Protection Act protects you, and it's your right to ask. They can't say they will give it to you. It's your right to ask. It's your right to ask. I don't want us to go into the act. It's in the act. It's your right to act. If you can't act, you can subpoena through the Data Protection Commission. You can ask them, then they will write to the institution to provide. But it's your right to ask. You can actually ask for your full folder to be given to you, but then you pay for the photocopy of the things that the notes you have done. But me, when I go to the hospital, I listen very carefully. Sometimes I even record the information that we are discussing. And then I ask for a lab. I don't trust lab, so I always get a printout. I want my own copy so that I know what to type. Then if I'm not sure about something, I'll ask again. Okay. So please do that. It's part of your in this class for that reason. Then you go to the policy actually. The policy will then tell us the issues that come into the data set, the what you are supposed to comply to. So it will have specific clauses for confidentiality and privacy, specific clauses for data security and policy. Please, the DM bug will not write the clauses for you. It will tell you what you should do. So have strict procedures for requesting and approving and revoking access. Then you and your team will set up the data council. That council yourself, you go and do the development. So the work here is plenty. The work here is plenty. Data quality policy. Your team will have to go and develop it. Data retention disposal policy. That's why the other time I was telling you that there's a website called the Science Institute. And you have quite a number of these policies there. You can download a template and then modify to suit your organization. If you go to their template section, you'll be able to download some. Data remote access policy, use of personal devices policy, which is very interesting. This is a use of personal device, a doctor using a personal device. Okay, so this has been happening. I don't know whether I realized you go there and I don't know the two. Dr. Safe can help me. The one that they use to check your ears, they to see whether there's some kind of whether it is infected or not. It's like a light. I don't know the actual name for it. Yeah.
Prof.
Yes. Do you know the name? What they use to check your ears?
No, Prof, I'm not a medical doctor.
Oh, then please, sorry. I have put you under.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Okay, but I hope those of you who are going to taking your daughter or your son to the hospital before, you know what I'm talking about. They check your ear to see
Yeah.
that there's yeah, they have some light at the edge, and then some hospitals it doesn't work. So doctors have some in their pocket, breast pocket. That is their personal one, and they just disinfect it and they use it to check yours. And it has got a tip at the end. They can change it. It's they don't use the same thing for this they use it for one per one, so they change it. I've been to hospitals that the person said this is my personal one I bought. So it's in his breast pocket. And because the ones in the organization they also working. And he's a local doctor. Okay. So he has his own set of tools that he brings to certain the places. So use of personal devices policy. And then for a clinic like this one, which is highly sensitive, you can't use a personal device there. Then data architecture, what they will have, what you need to design, the kind of architecture you should have, data modeling and design, data storage and operations. All this is just DM Boku. I'm not even going to another one. Guidance for Apex Health, for data security. These are some of the things you may think about. Data integration and interoperability, document and management, and then reference and master data management, data warehousing and business intelligence, related metadata, and then quality, data handling ethics. Hey, that's interesting. Okay, it's especially parts of DMBOK too. So that will give us about 12 different things that are there. I think they said 11, but I think that I have one which is more, I split one into two, I think so. That implementation strategy using the DAMA DMBOK principles. So about the above, first of all, you start with assessment planning. And then, good. Assessment planning, and then you conduct a thorough assessment of the organization to against the practices of the DAMA DMBOK knowledge areas. Identify the gaps and the risks. Develop a phase implementation plan, prioritizing the areas of highest risk and impact. The financial setup, set up a data governance office or council, define the rules and draft the core data governance policies. That's what they are going to do for you. Then implement, so it's not going to be one day activity. Implement a phase rollout. Then you're going to roll it out. You may start from the critical data domains, such as the presidency, the judiciary, parliamentarians, and politicians. Please look at the way it is categorizing. The presidency is the highest. It comes to the judiciary, parliamentarians, and politicians. Now, this is how this hospital ranks the different stakeholders that they serve. Technology enablement, then change management and communication. So communication, I told you that may not sit as an element or principle, but it may be part of the activities they do. And you see it here. It's change management and communication and monitoring and continuous improvement. So that's what they will try to do. Now, the Diamond book is very encyclopedic. DGI is more operational. So with the DGI, you're going to see us set up smart goals and to see how we are going to achieve them. So from here, we are going to the DGI and then look at how we are going to use that one to do the same job here. DGI is known for its practical and actionable mission-driven approach. So we are going to have 10 universal components that we are also supposed to adhere to. Now, these principles are going to be divided into categories. I mentioned to you that some of them combine the components into categories. The rules and rule of engagement, the people and the organizational bodies, and then the processes. Listen to it again. They have the rules, the clauses, the people and organizational bodies, and then the processes. Under the rules, they have got what we may call the mission and the vision, and then they have the what they want to achieve. So they will need to ensure that all patient data, particularly that of the political leaders, judiciary and parliamentarians and presidency, is managed with the highest level of integrity, security, confidentiality, and ethical consideration, thereby supporting exceptional patient care, maintaining stakeholder trust, and complying with all relevant Ghanaian laws. That's an international best practice because it's an international hospital too. Vision to be recognized as a world-leading ethical healthcare institution in governance of sensitive patient information, where data is consistently treated as protected and critical asset, enabling superior health outcomes and national confidence. Okay, where data is considered protected as protected critical asset, enabling superior health outcomes and national confidence. Yes, if a president goes to that place and information gets leaked, we are not going to get any national confidence in that. So the first thing that we are going to do is that under the rules, we are going to define our mission, define our goals, and our goals can be in different categories. For example, in 6 months, what do you want to achieve? All the core policies are approved. In 12 months, role-based access through the entire hospital, and then 90% of training complete, 90% of staff training completed in the same 12 months. And then for some of them, it's going to be ongoing. Preventing is not time-based. Preventing zero preventable data breaches of sensitive data patient information. Ensure all data assets related to VIPs are logged. VVIPs are logged and audited monthly. Then within 18 months, what they also want to do is establish a fully functional stewardship program covering all the critical patient domains. What is interesting about the DGI is that it appreciates that we can't do it all from the day one. So we have to sequence them and we have to be able to do it according to our resources. There are certain things that we can give timelines to, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. There are others that we cannot negotiate on timeline. Day one, we have to be prevented from happening. Like data breach we can't negotiate it on any timeline. We don't want any data breach. So zero preventable data breach, maintain it. We don't want to compromise on that one. So that's part of the rules. Then we are also thinking about what metrics we are going to achieve. How are we going to monitor this? So you establish the necessary KPIs and the necessary risk indicators, KRIs, for each of the goals we have set up. So they are working together. They are not just putting rules and then the rules of engagement is not put into action. We are putting into action how we are going to measure it, how we are going to follow it and closely. Then decision rights. They use what we call the Raki principle. The Raki principle has 3 dimensions. One, responsible. Who is responsible for this decision? Who is accountable? Who is consulted? Who is informed? So, for example, in case we face a situation that who can authorize access to a presidential medical record in an emergency, and if that emergency is unanticipated, if the president incapacitated and we need to access the president's information without overriding his medical permission, then we have what? The person looking after that one is accountable for that, the chief medical officer of the VVIP unit. That VVIP unit there. It's not everybody. The chief medical officer for that unit is responsible for that. There is a different chief medical officer for parliamentarians, a chief medical officer for, let's say, judiciary, a chief medical officer for, let's say, the political leaders. But this one is for the VVIP, getting to the highest person. Okay, the apex of that's why I call Apex Hospital, Apex Health. The Apex Health, the most important client, the president. So responsible IT in terms of who is going to implement IT security, to implement access once authorized. So when it's authorized, the IT security will allow us to have access. Who will be consulted to be able to show that this is done legally? The legal counsel and then the head of presidential security. It's not just any security, the head of presidential security. Just as parliamentarians have their head, the president also have their head. Then who will be informed that this is what we are going ahead with? The hospital CEO and the head of data governance. So somebody is accountable, somebody is responsible to make sure it happen. Others are consulted, and then others are informed. That's the hospital CEO and the head of data governance. Now, Another example is that who approves a new data field to be added to the VVIP patient registration form. Now we want to add Ghana card to it. Maybe Ghana card was not on the as part of the information we capture. Now we want to add Ghana card. So who is accountable? The data owner of the patient registration data. Who is accountable? Who is responsible? The lead data steward for patient. He's the one going to do the work. Who is consulted? The clinical heads, leads, handling the VVIP. They may end up going to a VVIP. Oh, sir, please, we need your data. This thing, we will collect it and then make it available to the data steward. Then who is informed? After we have done it, we can say that out of I will report to the Data Governance Council that 80% of all the VVIPs data Ghana card information has been captured. Good. Decision rights must be predefined for classification and policy exceptions so that those who are supposed to have it are defined in the system. Now, when they say predefined for classification, it's like you're thinking about TOGAF. As you are designing the enterprise architecture, the data rights are embedded. That's what he's trying to say. It's like you're using the TOGAF in this sense. Some of the principles of TOGAF. As you are designing, you put them in. Accountability and responsibilities ensures that individuals and groups understand their roles and are held answerable for performance to data governance. Okay, so now let's jump people and processes. Who decides? Now, the DGI has set up a data governance office, but you have to understand the data governance office itself are going to get the work done. And getting the work done, we need to know who are the stakeholders. There is the internal stakeholder and then there's the external stakeholder. Now, the internal one are the hospital leadership, the CEO, the CMO, that's the chief medical officer, heads of clinical departments. The external ones who may be affected by data governance are the patients themselves, their designated representatives, or those who are given power of attorney, the national security agencies in Ghana. That's if a person of interest comes to the hospital. The data management plan will be crucial, particularly for communicating or deliberately and legally restricting communications with external stakeholders about practices concerning VVIP. For example, in VVIP, you have to be very, very careful what you can discuss. There are some things that sometimes, even at the presidency, it is discussed with the president, but the president's wife may not even know about it. Because it's an issue of national security. And even the president, you go home, for the protection, the safety of your own wife and your children, you don't discuss these things with them. So you have to also, the same way, the stakeholder management plan is very in hospital information. There are certain things about the presidency that they'll discuss and others they don't discuss. For example, recently things are concerning the fitness of President Trump, and they were talking about the fact that the last time he did a fitness test, this was the report that the hospital, his medical doctor said. And what was interesting is that some of the information that the medical doctor can make it public, others cannot make it public. I don't know whether you heard about this. When I think is it the president of China or the head of China when he went to one of the countries, I think the US, it is either the president of China or the president or Putin rather. When Putin went to some countries, he was carrying there was carrying a briefcase, and there was a person who was capturing his urine and his poo and everything that everything that was coming. There was no police was not disposed into the US. Everything was captured. So there was a briefcase that somebody was carrying, and he was capturing the president's anything that come out of it. If he sneezes, they capture it. Handkerchief that will come from his face. There's no biological element of the president that was left in the country. For you to be able to engineer a drug to come after him, that was Putin. So when you're talking about presidential security, the level is very high. Yes, Stella, please go ahead.
Please, I'm wondering, is it possible that all of this can be done without the knowledge of the VVIP himself?
No, this one is part of your security protocol. It's part of your briefing. How can you go to go and use the washroom and you don't know that your washroom will capture it?
No, maybe they figure out some sensitive, maybe you have cancer or something, but they don't tell you as the president.
No, what I'm trying to say that your team is capturing it. Is the team, the Putin's team has somebody who was in charge of that. I don't know whether you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes,
So
yes, Papa, I understand.
it's like how you go to the hospital with your daughter and they say go and do blood tests, go and do urine tests. You go with your daughter and you capture the urine yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. So this person is capturing everything about every biological element of the president, from handkerchief to whatever you can think about. Even pillow you sleep on, he's the one making it available. You can't leave anything there in the US. You can imagine how Ghana will go everywhere. When President Kufuor was carrying his own chair, Ghanaians were talking that he has his own chair. You see, Ghana, we're not concerned about the biological, but we are concerned about the seat. So the spiritual dynamics of the seat. So we were carrying the seat. Well, Putin there is not thinking spiritual, he's thinking physical. Maybe he has who knows? Putin can also be thinking spiritual. I don't know. But what I'm saying that what we got to know about the spiritual, the physical one is what was interesting. Everything was captured. The water he would drink, if he finished drinking the water bottle, he doesn't leave it there. The things he would touch and stuff. You can't get anything about him from there unless you are using a scanner to scan his body, and then whilst he's in the room, because the Chinese have it, they can scan you and know that you have an ailment as they are walking through. I've seen one at an airport before. You go through it when they're scanning to check whether I've got any disease. At the same time, scanning your body to see whether you're carrying drugs. So you can finish the scanning and tell there's something wrong with your lungs. I can show you one of the devices. They have it. It's like a cubicle. You can go inside and to do a body scan of you. They don't need to take any blood from you. They can scan your body and tell you what is wrong with you. Through my interactions with Ministry of Health here, we're looking at some equipment for mobile clinic, and that's where I got to understand that. Okay. So there was a hand coming up, or if not, let's continue. Okay. So the DGI office, the Data Governance Office, a central body for coordination execution of the plan. And they'll facilitate Data Governance Council meetings and its actions, developing and maintaining data policies and standards, managing the stewardship program, overseeing data quality. Quite a number of jobs that work they are supposed to do. To be able to do that, they may also work with other bodies. They cannot work alone. Then they will set up stewardship working groups, subcommittees that will be working with them. So when we think of people and processes, we are talking about anything that needs human activity to get the governance done. So the committees you set up, the working groups you set up, all of it come together to be part of the people and process of the DGI. The latter part is I want to jump the process because of time. We have to look at other ones. But one thing you should know about processes is that they are got reactive and proactive processes. Proactive processes would be looking at things that you want to plan ahead, conducting protection impact assessment, regular risk assessments, and then but reactive ones will be more about efficient issue resolution. If something happens, what do we do? So we have to have an incident reporting framework or reporting guidelines that if something happens, what we should do. Corrective action guidelines. If something happens, if you want to correct some of the unforeseen actions of individuals in there, what do we do? Based on our other findings, what do we do? How do we do it in such a way that we don't reprimand somebody in a way that he goes rogue and then puts us into jeopardy and he starts leaking information and talking to the media anyhow? Yeah, if you go and talk to the media, they can clear you because you are holding sensitive information. So your life is even in danger talking to the media unapproved. Okay. Then there are also ongoing processes. Ongoing processes are things that are continuously done. They are not just done in a proactive manner. They are continuous, like regular review and updates of policies, continuous improvement of data governance program based on the metrics and the feedback, and the periodic meetings of the Data Council, Governance Council. Now, how are we going to get these things done? We are going to understand the mission and secure mandate. We are going to focus on where the high risk is. We're going to define the resources and responsibilities early. What I'm very happy is that when I ask you guys questions that which of these components will be important to you, quite a number of you, no matter what you say, you mentioned roles and responsibilities. So you can see it here, roles and responsibilities should be defined early. It should be defined early. Who establish who is accountable and who is responsible. And then you can then develop your core policies, and then the policies will not be perfect. Some of them you have to iterate and expand and review them. So as you are doing them, as you are implementing them, if it works, you continue reinforcing. If it doesn't work, you review and then you revise it. Some of them you start at a phase approach. As people get to understand, you start from one department. As it gets better and people understand, then you communicate to the others and then expand it. So for example, I will start something for the political leaders. And if it's working very well, I'll move it to the parliamentarians. It's working very well, I'll move to the judiciary. Working well, I end at presidency. I will not start at the presidency and put the presidency at risk. I'd rather start at the politicians and then increase as we gain understanding and we know that whether the policy works or it doesn't work, whether the strategy we are putting in place works or doesn't work, we upscale it above the security protocol, with the highest being the president. But there are certain things that it will start rather from the presidency and come down. So you have to think about that. Emphasize in just enough governance. While governance for VVIP data must be stringent for other less sensitive area, DGI approach allows for tailoring the level of governance. So we look at what your value is, and then we apply the risk control. So if you are the highest level, that's the presidency, it will have the highest form of risk protocol given to it. If you are the lowest political leader, and political leader is very, very funny in terms of its definition. Somebody can just start today, finish school, and then become the women's leaders for a political party. All of a sudden, he's a political leader, and he's managing some women's group in one of the districts. He calls himself a leader. So in that sense, you have to know that that person and the level of the person is very far. And that person may not necessarily be even given access to the hospital, certain areas that the president is giving access. For a hospital is compartmentalized. Whatever happens where the political leaders access, you will never know and see who is at the other side. So they have got 4 big divisions, with the highest security protocol being at the presidency and the judiciary level. You will not even have access to the place. If you are not supposed to go there, you don't go there. So you cannot just get up and say, I came to visit, so I'm going to visit somebody at the let's say the political the political leaders wing, and then all of a sudden I'm saying I've changed my mind. I'm going to judiciary wing and presidency wing. You have to book sometime months ahead before you can even go to see, because you don't have access to that place. You don't have access to that place. Then COVID. How will COVID apply? COVID has 40, this is what I was telling you, Hannah. COVID has 40 governance and management objectives that has to be achieved. And the 40 of them are plenty. Some of them are focusing on responsibility, others on compliance, and others on management. So you need to know what you are doing if you want to actually use the COVID. So the COVID has EDM, executive level objectives, which the board will look at. It has management level objectives. Then it has other one, which at its operational level. Yeah. I don't think I covered all the 40 in the handbook I've given to you, but I cover quite a number of them. So at the governance objective, which is usually at the governance council, they would ensure that the framework is developed and is maintained. They will also show that the framework delivers certain benefits in terms of data governance, delivers benefits for the organization. They will ensure risk optimization based on the level of access and level of risk. They will ensure resource optimization, how we use resources to support security. They will ensure stakeholder engagement, systematically engaging with all stakeholders, and then who are internal and external ones, like the Data Protection Commission, to understand the data-related needs and expectations. So those are the 5 things that they will do. They establish the governance framework. They'll make sure it is performance driven. They'll make sure that the risk optimization is ensured. They will make sure that it's optimized with resources. Resource optimization is also looked into, and they will look at stakeholder engagement. When it comes to management, a very good data governance framework coming from the COVID would we'll look at how to manage the IT, how information technology are managed, in terms of assets for data governance, how human resources are managed, how relationships are managed, especially for relevant for external data sharing, which third party we want to interact with, what they can have and what they will not have. The security, managing security, defining and monitoring a system for information security with specific heightened security measures for data pertaining to politicians and judiciary members, and to look at prevention, detection, and response. And then to also check whether the staff are also trained. That's the APO07. The staff are trained, that's the personnel. Staff are trained and are ready to deliver what's important. Now, manage data. That's new in COVID-19. Achieving effective data management, effective management of enterprise data assets through the life cycle. So going through the different life cycle, defining the data roles, data quality, data security, data lineage. Manage requirements definition. When acquiring or developing new systems, e.g., updated EHR, specialized VVIP care coordination platform, we have to ensure that data governance, security and privacy and compliance requirements are clearly defined and incorporated from the onset. Okay, so this is also picking principles from TOGAF that when you are starting to develop a system, integrate data governance into it, manage solutions, identifications, and build. So ensuring that any new IT solutions handling patient data are designed and implemented with appropriate security controls, audit trails, and data management features. Supports privacy and security in design principle, so that at the design level, privacy measures and security measures are put in play. So it continues with quite a number of them up to the end of where you're managing compliance and managing internal control. So all these principles are in the COBIT, and there are quite a number of them. So how will it come into play? One, you have to look at your enterprise concept and strategy and check what is your vision and your mission, and then align it with the COBIT goals. Translate stakeholder needs. The stakeholder needs for a hospital like this is confidentiality, accuracy is important. These two are important, confidentiality and data accuracy. So you are going to make sure that you put in confidentiality and data accuracy clauses in everything that you are developing for your enterprise goals. Cascade these two alignment goals. How will this relate to IT? It means because we want to achieve confidentiality and accuracy, we want secure and reliable technology or information systems. Then cascade it into governance. Which of these management objectives will it apply to? It will apply to APA 14, which is for a dedicated data objective, looking at the roles, quality, security, lineage, and retention. It will apply to DSS05. It will apply to EDM03. EDM03 is for managing risk, the risk in managing risk management relating to an executive level, relating to our resources, relating to people, and relating to our activities. Then we have EDM03. MEA03. MEA03. MEA is actually looking into monitoring internal control evaluation and in line with the Data Protection Act. Okay, so then you have to look at the copy design factors and you tailor the governance system to Apex Health specific situation, high security enclave, VVIP clientele, Ghanaian regulations, and sometimes there may be international regulations in appellate because presidents receive visitors. Implement selected governance and management processes for each of the chosen objectives. COBI suggests relevant processing activities and metrics. All of them, for each of those things I mentioned, APO 14, they have got their own, COBI has its own guidance framework for it. And some of them use the Raki chart, who is responsible, who is accountable, who is going to be informed, who is going to be consulted. Good. Focus on risk management and then monitor and optimize. Please, hope it is resource intensive. If you don't have resources and time, you cannot be able to develop it. And sometimes consultancies are the ones who will do this for you because you may not have all the institutional capacity to be able to go through every step. Then we come to the data maturity model. The data maturity model, I like it because it is going to look at it in terms of there's different steps that we are supposed to achieve. So we start from the first level, that is called the performed level. That level 1, when we do assessment. At this level, it's hard. Data governance practices in the organization is very ad hoc, inconsistent and reactive. When something happens, they will say, hey, what has happened? Let's form a policy to address it. So it's very ad hoc, inconsistent, and reactive. We don't want that. If you're at this level, it might not be good because you may be handling the procedures in which you handle the people's data is not well defined and it's not even consistent. So you just do anything as it works or as it goes. Then you come to level 2, which is plan and control, but it's local. So each of the different wings manage their own data. Presidential wing have their own policies. Has nothing to inform. There's not like a whole a foundational policy for the whole hospital. President has what they are doing. Parliamentarian wing has what they are doing. The judiciary wing has what they are doing. Political leaders wing have what they are doing. So it is planned and controlled, but it is very local. Then we move to another level in which we see defined, standardized and institutionalized, hospital-wide documented policies. So we are done, instead of doing plan and control by local, we are now trying to build system-wide policies. See, last week we talked about system-wide policies that can apply to institutions. Like a university can have system-wide policies, or they can also have campus-based policies. The campus-based policies alone for an organization, for a university, is more at the managed level. But when you start establishing system-wide policies for an institutionalized across the whole as the baseline, then you are getting to a defined level. But the defined level does not necessarily mean that you have got all the metrics established. Then you have to go to the measured level. The measured level means that the organization uses quantitative and statistical techniques to manage and control data management processes. Performance is managed. So I remember I mentioned the KPIs and KRIs. The KPIs has to do with the performance indicators. KRIs has to do with your risk indicators. This is coming from what? The DGI framework. So you can define those key indicators and use to be able to manage the firm. So if you don't have it, then you go and build it. That's why I was saying that the assessment, the DMM, that the data management maturity model is good because it helps to assess you where you are. Then you can go and pick, if you identify your weaknesses, then you know what to roll out to be, how activities to roll out to be able to address the weaknesses. The last level is the optimized level, where you become a transformed organization which is seamless in healing itself. What it means that there are protocols to make sure that you are continuously improving your data management processes. So you have got metrics, you do your audit, and your audit outcomes, you implement the address the gaps. So you just don't, so you are proactive in the way you do your things, proactively seeking out and implementing cutting-edge technologies and methodologies to further enhance security, confidentiality, integrity, and utility of the VIP inpatient data. There will be a culture of continuous learning, even rewarding continuous learning, rewarding continuous responsible behavior. I remember I was in a hospital in Rwanda doing some work, and I realized that the best employee for that particular month was coming from the IT department. The head of there was one of the guys in IT who had won the best employee, and I asked them so that usually when I go to a hospital in my consultants and I see best employee, I see it coming from the functional areas which are medical. I never see IT. Say IT is core. It's a core function unit of the hospital that I was visiting. They are deployed telemedicine. We're learning from them. So the activity of the IT personnel is seen as very important as the activity of a medical doctor. So if the best employees coming from the IT unit, it shows that that same assessment we are put to the medical doctor, we are putting their level contextual relevant assessment to IT. So an IT lead was the best employee in the hospital for that particular month. So that's at a level in which you are saying optimize. so that there's continuous learning and refinement in data management, ensuring that the hospital remains at the forefront of its best practices, anticipating future threats and needs related to its unique clientele. So a good assessment tool is the DDM, that the data maturity management model, management maturity model. But it has a lot of work too. It has several process areas that you have to look into. The data management strategy, that's the first category. Communications. Remember, I mentioned that people look at communication to establish clear communication channels for data management strategy, policy, and procedures. Data management business case. Developing strong justification for investment in data governance initiatives. Awareness and training is also put here. Then they have got the category for data governance. That means that at the end of the day, creating the data governance reporting mechanism, the governance council, appointing the data owner, the data steward, then having clear rights for each of them and parts for operations. Then the business glossary, understanding the terminologies that we use concerning data across the whole organization. Then the metadata management, implementing processes and tools to capture and store and manage metadata for all the patient data, including the technical metadata, the data formats and system sources. You don't say that you use one format, like you say you are using date format, using -dd-YYY. That's the format for data for dates in the presidential place. But when you come to the parliamentarian, you are using DD-MM-YY. Very different data formats for the presidential and for the parliamentary and for the politician. Why would you want to do such inconsistency? We want you to develop ones that are consistent so that it's easy for us to exchange data and understand data. Business metadata definitions in terms of how you define the data that relates to your business and how you use them, the usage rules, and who has access to it. Operational metadata, and then the security and sensitivity classification all defined within. For example, in Sakai, the classifications are there. You have the student, you have the teacher assistant, you have the teacher, and you have the I think teacher assistant and the teacher, you have the instructor. I think so. There are about 4 levels in Sakai. Each of them have their permissions on what they can be able to do and what they cannot do. Then data quality, ensuring that data is fit for the intended purpose. Data quality strategy, data profiling, data assessment, data cleansing. They have got data operations, then platform architecture. These are all different categories. Then supporting processes within the data management maturity model. Then how will you use the DMM? You start from commitment and scoping, gain commitment from the leadership. Define the scope of your assessment. What are you going to do? Focusing first on data governance and then data quality for VVIP patient data. You can start from the VVIP, then move to another domain. Then in the assessment, you conduct DMM assessment, or you do a self-assessment or use a consultant or a third party to do it for you. But for a sensitive institution like this, it will be you have to be very tread cautious using a third party. You are evaluating current practices and processes. You have to gather information from across different departments concerning their maturity levels, and do your gap analysis and prioritize how you're going to address them in terms of resources. Develop a roadmap with a time-bound action on how you're going to address them, and then institutionalize and optimize resources to be able to get it done. Make sure that the hospital board are in bed with what you want to do, and establish the SOPs that will get that done. So what will be the SOP for improving our processes? We have to define it. Then we go to the ISO. The ISO means that you're actually trying to use data evaluation or an assessment done by the executive. That means that the board must actively evaluate, direct, and monitor the hospital data management practices to ensure that they support the hospital mission in securing high quality data to its clientele while managing risk and compliance. So the first one is responsibility. The first one is responsibility. Then you are going to define what you're going to do in terms of responsibility. Confirms accountability for VVIP data exists. directs and documented rules, and monitors adherence. So each of them you do evaluation, direction, and monitor. Evaluation, direction, and monitor. So you start from what are you evaluating? You evaluate whether accountability exists, and then you direct what should be supposed to be done to meet the gap, and then you monitor it. Then you go to strategy. You also go to do evaluation, direct, and monitor. Then you go to acquisition or sourcing for the data. And each of them, the ISO defines it. For example, acquisition says data is acquired or created based on valid reasons, appropriate analysis of requirements, and transparent decision making, balancing benefits, opportunities, cost, and risk. This applies to data itself and system that manage the data. What does it mean? The board should evaluate all the processes for acquiring new data and the policies for data collection. Is there clear justification for collecting each data? Sometimes they collect data which is not relevant anymore. We are one beyond COVID. Will you be still collecting data on somebody, whether somebody is COVID, has got COVID or not? Will you still be doing that right now? Maybe no. Okay. So all of these things have to be put into what are the risks? Are risks adequately assessed before acquisition or new data collection initiatives? Direct. The board direct management to implement rigorous due diligence processes for acquiring any new technology that will store or process sensitive data, patient data, ensuring privacy and security by design. They will direct the data collection practices, particularly for VVIPs, and adhere to the principle of data minimization and are clearly justified. Now, monitor. The board monitors major data and system acquisitions and ongoing justification. So this one is for acquisition. That's why you see everything's about acquisition. Then they have got performance. So everything we evaluate, direct, monitor. This is why it's at the board level. Everything evaluate, direct, monitor. They will define what they mean by performance according to ISO, and then they will follow the 3 steps. The same thing, conformance or compliance. What is compliance? Data handling and data management systems comply with applicable laws, regulation, contractual obligations, and internal policies. What should the board do? Evaluate what is all the health and the APEX health adherence to Ghana Data Protection Act, medical confidentiality laws, which may be at the medical practice level or industry, Ghana Medical Board or medical practice, what they say, international medical practice, what they have said, specific governmental directives, even governmental directives at the Africa level, what is AU saying concerning health directives, and how does it affect the VVIP and internal data policies, direct and then monitor. The last one is the human behavior. The human behavior is focused on ethical data culture, practical policies, and safe channels for staff to raise concerns. How can I raise a concern? There's an issue. So evaluate, direct, monitor is the governing body's tax model that will apply to all of the principles. Good. So the ISO in implementation will start with the board education and commitment. We have to train the board to be able to understand their governance role according to the ISO standard. So this may be a 3-day training we give to all board members. Then you may go to a formal adoption. The board formally say that, acknowledge that they are going to use ISO principles for data governance at their level to oversee or to have oversight over data governance activities in APEX Health. They will establish a clear governance structure by implementing a data governance office or a council. They'll put it in place and they make it accountable to the board, so report to the board. They integrate the existing governance. Data governance oversight should be integral part of the board. So the board will start saying that now in board meetings, the last 30 minutes is for data governance, the last 1 hour is for data governance, or the third day, if you have only 3 days, the third day is for data governance. So that will be instituted into the board structure of activities or program of activities. Define reporting mechanisms. How do you get information to the board? When there are issues concerning data governance, what will be the process in which we are going to have clear lines of authorization, clear lines of reporting? Independent assurance. Sometimes the board is not equipped to do some of these audits that I mentioned earlier. So the board can set up an independent audit team to do the internal and external, to do their auditing on their behalf. For example, I was part of an independent team set up by the University of Ghana to do an audit to do an examination, a strategic examination of the leadership of our IT leader, we say IT leadership in the University of Ghana. So, for example, understanding the role of the CITO and helping the university acquire or hire somebody to be able to take that role. I started with deputy CITO and I did we did a CITO itself. But when we're doing all this thing, we realize the current problems in the IT unit and what it's needed. We even prescribe solutions that should be there for the institution. They are yet to implement some of them. By the way, one of the things that we said is that because the university leadership doesn't have somebody who is head of, apart from the CITO, we don't have anybody to inform and advise them on technology issues. It's important that we have an advisory board that can, with the vice chancellor is part of it, and then the advisory board are industry experts who can have got access to resources, access to practices in industry, and can advise the vice chancellor on what is happening currently in technology and whether the university is going in line. So the CITO will report to the advisory board, but the CITO currently reports to the head of the vice chancellor, the pro vice chancellor for research, innovation, and development. But what we realize is that research, innovation, and development head may not be an IT guru or have an IT background. So some of the strategic initiatives, he just relying on the CITO. So if you have a CITO who doesn't have a very good relationship with the Pro VC for research, innovation, and development, we can have a very big problem. We can have a very big problem. So in that sense, in between the two, you can have an advisory board as a tangential should I say vehicle that the Pro VC for RID, that's research innovation, we can consult and see that this thing the guy is presenting, should we go ahead? Should I do it or should I do it? He can get that advice from there. And because he has got industry knowledge, they can also tell him the best practices that exist. But that is yet to be formed. That's yet to be formed. Morgan, I saw you have unmuted yourself, unless you wanted to ask a question. Okay. So apart from the independent assurance bodies, you can also have regular review, who the board will review and the effectiveness of data governance and make adjustments needed. Then you have the TOGAF. TOGAF is from the open group, and they developed their own architecture framework called TOGAF. So the meaning is the TOGAF, the open group architecture framework, which I mentioned earlier. There is an enterprise architecture. That means that from day one, when we are developing the system, we will make sure that we build data governance into the architecture of the organization. As we are setting up the organization's business, technology, applications, and policies, we would include data governance policies. So clearly define the scope of the enterprise architecture effort with specific emphasis on data domains, particularly the data of VVIP. So A, articulate the governance vision and the concrete business goals. B, map the processes that touch sensitive data and roles around them. So we start with the vision and the mission organization. And then we will try to look at it in terms of the business, which aspect of it requires data. Then design the appropriate or target the data architecture that will give you the sensitivity classifications, the granular access, the life cycle quality standards, and flawless VVIP master data access and audit tools that will be the direct support of the business, whilst making sure that all of these things I have said are consistent. The architecture is consistent with the Data Protection Act. Then we can then deploy the necessary technology to be able to run these things or tailor the architecture with the existing technology that are required, and then we can then consolidate them into actual projects. So phase one, we do the architectural vision. Data governance vision is defined. The business goals are understood. Specific business goal that data governance will support, ensuring 100% compliance with Data Protection Act, preventing unauthorized access to or disclosure of VVIP patient data, ensuring high quality data high data quality for patient information, and streamlining secure data access. We define the scope and we get a stakeholder buy-in. Then we go to the business architecture, data-centric view. Describe the baseline target business architecture and identify the gaps. What key hospital processes involve data? Identify the data in the business concepts. Identify the data in the business processes. Define the data-related roles, and then do your gap analysis. Then come to from the business architecture, come to the data architecture. What are the target data architecture for data and applications? What kind of logical and physical data models do you need for key data entities such as the patient records? What security controls? For example, some institutions may have level 1, presidential confidential, level 2, judicial confidential, parliamentary sensitive. Number 3, general patient confidential. So whenever data is defined, we can label it, is it presidential level, judiciary and parliamentary level, or a general patient? That's where the politicians are. Then you specify controls based on these 3 levels. Then you do your data lifecycle management. Then all the other ones we have been talking about, data management, data integration, all the other components will play, auditing and compliance mapping. Then you get to the technology architecture, supporting data governance. 1, what technologies do we need to support what you have defined earlier? So you have to go to the encryption technology that you have to need. And then what will be needed to secure the database, to ensure we have robust firewalls, ensure that we have got data backups, ensure that I've got business continuity. All of it will be in the technology architecture. From there, we go to phase E, opportunities and solutions. Evaluate and select implementation options. Identify strategic change parameters. For example, consolidating gaps that's related to data governance. When you did your assessment of the vision and the business, and then the data and technology itself, what were the gaps that you had? How are you going to address those gaps? What do you have and what don't you have? You do the procurement related to it, and then implement the tools that you need to be able to get it started. Now, all of these things means that at the end of the day, the organization will move from one level to another level. So they have to migration planning. Some detailed plans for data governance migration. We have to move from one data set to another data set. We have to move from one set of policies to another set of policies. What is the change management that will be needed? That has to be captured. Who are you giving the mandate to do this change management, especially implementing your governance? Provide architectural oversight for the implementation. What will be the role of the data council? How will they ensure that this change is happening? All of these are in the TOGAF, very, very comprehensive and a lot. In effect, TOGAF needs a lot of executive sponsors because their work is a lot, from assessment to resource pitches and resource integration implementation. And it might need an iterative approach. Integration is not isolation. Data governance is seen as also as a separate IT compliance task, but it's part of how the hospital functions. So everything about the hospital have data governance embedded in it. By using TOGAF, APAC's Health can develop holistic and well-governed data environment that's aligned to their unique strategic imperatives. Now the last one has to do with CDMC. That has to do with the cloud data management. What are the cloud principles that you need? There are 14 key capabilities you have to achieve and 37 sub-capabilities. Madam Hannah, do you understand what I was talking about? The principles are a lot.
Yes, please.
So you see that you are picking little of this. And that's why I say that sometimes it may appear hard work, but the people who are in control, they know what they are doing, they know what they are picking. So they may open CDMC and pick this, ISO pick this, they pick that and pick that. So that they can have what will work for EcoBank or what will work for Standard Chartered or what will work for let's say Prudential Bank. You have to choose what will work. That is why very forward-looking industries have their industry regulator developing a foundational model for data governance for them using the DM book, the DAMA DM book. We do a foundational one that everybody can use that one as a baseline to start. But some institutions also belong to other mother institutions at the Africa level and at the global level. So they cannot just look at your industry framework. They have to also respond to those ones which are the mother institutions or the global institutions that they work with or they are subsidiary of. So with this one too, because it has to do with cloud, there are 6 core components. Component 1, governance and accountability. Data sharing agreements will be there. Data sovereignty, which is important in the Data Act, will be there. Regulatory compliance will be there. And data governance roles and responsibilities. Component 2, cataloging classification. We also have to do our own data classification. 1, public general hospital information, but not the patient data. General hospital. How many doctors we have? How many machines we have? What are the services that we offer? All those are general hospital information. Internal operation data, non-sensitive. Then confidential, that the patient data will be there. Level 2. Level 3, strictly confidential. For the sensitive patient, then highly restricted for the VVIP patient. No medical administrative data of the VVIP. Level 5, APES restricted. VVIP medical, all medical data of parliamentarians and judiciary. Then level 6, you see that we separated the parliamentarians and judiciary from the president. Level 6, APES top secret, presidential medical, all medical data of the presidency. This classification will automatically drive security and controls and access, encryption, and logging. Key capability will also be defined as data lineage and then data sensitive data discovery. Access and usage will be defined. Component 3. Component 4 will be protection and privacy. Component 5 will data lifecycle management. Component 6, data portability and interoperability. Remember, we are traveling, we are having data transfer, so data portability. While more cloud-centric, the principles of data of secure data movement and standards are relevant. 1, data format and standards. Use standardized data formats for patient information. For example, HL7, FHIR, or specific interfaces if ever needed. These are standards that are global. You can Google them and you can know them. And I think you're being taught in other courses. For VVIP data, any data exchange will use highly secured, mutually agreed formats for end-to-end encryption and strong authentication endpoints. So the guiding principles for it will be the fact that we have to identify the data, define ownership, define access control, protect the data, quality and integrity must be assured, and control how we do the transfers. So it's not an easy thing to deploy. In deployment, you have to start from assessing the current state, then prioritize your risk. In fact, these two is what is done by almost everybody. You assess where you are, then you prioritize what you want to address first. Develop aligned policies and then responsibilities to and rules. And then invest in the enabling technologies. This one and then the other one, TUGAF, all talk about investment. You have to buy the right technology, support what you have defined for the policies you have defined. Invest in training. Good. Here, training includes communication. Invest intensive training and communication. Then you have to audit what you have done and see whether it is working. Or really audit the implementation effectiveness of CDMS C controls, monitor threats, and adapt controls as needed. Future-proof yourself. Establish it as something that is within the organization that is inherent within all your cloud infrastructure. That it is there in tacit, or like without you saying anything, everything just follows the principles that you have defined. So we have a table here that does the comparison. We will not go through the table because you can do that yourself. And the limitations, we mentioned some of them earlier. But what I have learned in my little use of these things is the fact that you should understand what you want to achieve. First of all, if you want to use DAMA, you should look at why you are using it. Foundational reference structuring the whole program, quality, security, metadata ethics. Very good for you to develop a foundational model for all the people in an industry to adhere to. DGI, for somebody who is starting. Rapidly operation, and is very quick in the activities, the most simplest of all. Clear data rules, decision rights, and repeatable processes. COBIT, for building an auditing control system and demonstrating that you are complying with the Act, the Data Governance Act. COBIT will do that easily for you. DMM, assessing where you are and planning how you are going to grow. ISO, you act to get board members to be actively involved in data, executive management, and then the leadership of it, and then giving us the rights, the executive authority to go ahead and implement, evaluate and implement the data security protocols, resource protocols that are needed. Then TOGAF, design a secure data architecture aligned to strategy, right from the onset when you are building your organization. And that's if it's a very complex organization, you can do that. They have resources. Modern cloud-based control, we will look at CDMC. So what do you have? Now, remember the question you all asked me, what should I do? So this is what I will say you can do. No one single winner. I would like to start with ISO at the board level. So that data governance is an executive activity that we are all in control. But it's not every time that you can start at the board level. Then I can go with DAMA, DMBOK, and DGI to establish the structure and the operationalize the program. Then to control and audit it, I'll use COBIT. To always have a continuous measurement program and improvement program, I'll use DMM. To integrate it, to make sure it's integrated into my business architecture as I become more knowledgeable, I'll go back to the basics and integrate TOGAF to make sure that certain sections of the business that are not integrated into the data architecture, it is done so. Then to be able to make sure that I am fluid, I'm able to have agile activity and agile response to my data across different jurisdictions, especially in the cloud, I will use CDMC. So in that sense, CDMC, the cloud one, will become my final fallback that I'll be implementing, looking forward, building a forward-looking organization. By that time, I would establish all my structures and it will be easy for me to flow into the other. Now, most of these things builds on where you are starting from to where. So the board principles are at the top, structure, control, measurement, and architecture, and hardened principles beneath. Each layer covers the limitations of the other. Please, Stephen and Hannah, is this acceptable by you?
Yes, Prof. Loud and clear.
Yes, please.
Hey, I will say yes, please, so that I won't talk.
No, Prof.
Okay.
Prof, I like the way they are engaging now. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
You are not engaging. You are telling that you like the way somebody's engaging. I hear you.
Yes, Wallace is not
Got to
engaged.
a time, particular group of us were so much contributing, and they were not. So you brought the knowledge in everybody out, and it's making us feel together today. I'm so grateful, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So you advise the board wants one primary framework with
Hello,
2 layers.
Prof.
Yes, please.
I've raised my hand a question with the TOGAF. Since you're saying that TOGAF, you take it from scratch. I was thinking, what if the organization already exists or has already been
That's
in
what
existence but never had any of such policy? They can do the TOGAF, understood, but
no.
then what happens to they can't?
If your organization exists already, it
Yes.
is better you start with listen to what is you start with here. What is above TOGAF?
CMMI, DMM.
To establish where you are and what you need to improve.
Okay.
TOGAF can help you design. TOGAF can do somebody a complex organization that is now starting. For example, a bank, a very large hospital, not a small hospital in maybe Medina Clinic. No, not that one. A very complex organization that is heavy on enterprise architecture. TOGAF will work, like a university, starting from scratch. But if you're already existing, I will advise you to use DMM to check what you have and what you don't have. Then come back and look at which aspect of the business is a business dimension is not aligned, it's not data driven, or it doesn't have a data governance architecture, then you bring it into being. So let me give you an example. University of Ghana, for example, here, we were more technically heavy on the general things of just supplying technology for teaching. Then the research unit is also technology heavy in supplying technology for what do you call for research work. Good. But what we were not very dual was the learning part. So teaching is not Sakai. Learning is Sakai. Teaching is not Sakai. Teaching is much more going to a classroom and then using the PowerPoint and things to teach. When it comes to learning, you are creating the environment that the students can have access to resources and they can be able to have continuous engagement with the teacher beyond the classroom. And that's why Sakai came in. Sakai came in late. Then when Sakai came in, then another one came in that we need to have turn it in for plagiarism. The time we're doing teaching and everything, we're not talking about Sakai. Plagiarism was not a big issue, echoed by lecturers. As soon as Sakai came in, this what was the name came was turn it in came. Plagiarism policy was and turn it in for plagiarism also came. We couldn't do plagiarism the time we're doing teaching because we didn't give the students and the lecturers any tool to check for plagiarism. So before you can give a tutor for plagiarism, you have to have an environment in which the students can formally submit the assignment. We didn't have that one too. So the formal assessment and assignment collation came through Sakai, which was for learning. And then that environment came into layered with the other learning mechanisms that you can be able to add the tenets in. The students can be able to check whether whatever they are doing, they are plagiarizing or not. I hope you understand. But we have already done research resources. Like if you want to download a material and you want access to it, you can go to a university and get off-campus access and download some of the research materials. Go to a library and they'll give it to you. So when Sakai came, we didn't even know where to put it. They first of all going to put it at the library because they thought it was part of learning and resourcing of the learning environment. So library, so they can integrate it. So the person who was actually managing Sakai was from the library, the one IT guy from the library. And he was the one even doing all the training. Then they realized that they need to put in plagiarism. They have to go back to and the plagiarism, they have to go back and talk to the IT people to link the two together. So because I'm telling it in Sakai was also seen as application, but the application part was run by the library. So sometimes later on, when we start bringing the policy, then we start looking at the fact that Sakai is an important tool that we have to integrate. Then the lecturers were saying that when people register, they wanted to make sure that automatically, when you initially it was very bad. When you register, your name and everything does not automatically show up in Sakai because registration and everything was part of the technical part, which was seen as part of enrollment, admission, and nothing to do with the learning part and the teaching part. In fact, teaching was not using that part of it, so it was a part of the learning part. So what we had to do then is that after a lot of discussion, we argued that as soon as a person finished registering and doing that, if he's registered for the course, automatically Sakai has to be linked to it. Initially, they were even doing manual transfer. They'll go and pick the registration list and then automatically go into Sakai and then import it in there. It was not automatic. They'll go manually go into Sakai and then create your course and put it there. So can you imagine a small team was creating courses for all the courses, all the lectures in the university? I myself teach about 6 courses or 7 courses. So can you imagine before you finish doing my own and go to another department? So for the first beginning, it was very difficult for them. Then later on, with Sakai, you can actually repeat the course. So the courses were structured already in there. They just have to make sure that the same sort of courses that were done for every semester is made available every semester. It took time. What I'm trying to say is that part of the enterprise infrastructure, the teaching part, the learning part for that we will need Sakai was not integrated into the governance. It was later that we brought into the governance, then all the other policies for plagiarism, policies for Turnitin started coming in. So we didn't go back to the scratch and say we are designing everything. We just added onto it, identify which aspect of the university's arms. The university has 3 arms: teaching, learning, and then research. So the dimensions of teaching had gone far, the dimensions of learning had gone far, the dimension of research had gone far. It was the learning and some aspects of the teaching that we needed to integrate together. So you can actually start with the DMM by establishing what you have and what you don't have. And you go to the TOGAF to bring in the business elements that are not captured in the data and put it in. But it doesn't mean that to work all for every organization. I'm just using this as an example because you asked about TOGAF.
Yes, bro.
So in principle, can TOGAF be used by an existing organization? Yes. But you have to understand what you are doing. If I was using TOGAF as an existing organization, my DMM, I'll be evaluating which aspects of my enterprise infrastructure has not been captured into my data, my existing governance practice, even if it is not fully deployed. Even if it's ad hoc, I would like to know which aspects are captured, which aspects are not captured. Okay, thank you very much. It's very good. The questions I asked are very, very good. The Tuesday class, we were going to watch Ghana football, so they had to make me rush the class. They didn't get time to engage me like this. And I think their mind was, the class finished just around 8:05, and they were already watching the match whilst I think I was teaching. Anyway, so you advise the Apex Health Board, recommend a single primary framework and exactly 2 supplements. Defend the combination. What does the primary give you and what does this supplement give you? So I was trying to say that if an organization asks you for a primary framework, which of them, and then add 2 other ones layered in or supporting ones, which of them will you go for? From what we just asking from our, please, who asked that question? The lady, and let me get your name.
Stella Komi.
Stella has been engaging the whole day. So Stella asked the question. So Stella, in that case, you want to go with TOGAF, but Prof is telling you that start with DMM to understand where you are, and then go to TOGAF. And when you are doing the TOGAF, add DGI so that you can implement easier. That's my view. And a question like this. That's my view. Okay. Now, 8 rules that you will need to adopt, whichever model you pick. First of all, context is king. No one size fits all. Tailor it to your industry, the regulation, culture, strategy, and data itself. And that is what we are learning from Stephen and Hannah. Hannah says that where she sits, almost everything that comes to her because of the place she sits. But as you go to different units, it may be different. Clear rules are foundational. Ambiguity about accountability produces inaction. If we don't understand, we can't act. So we need to, like David said earlier, I will define my roles and my responsibilities. Because when they define them, people will be clear about what they are supposed to do. Write usable policies, DGI. Don't go and write things which are heavy on description and low on prescription. So write usable policies. It means that even if you use DAMA DM book, after you describe, set up a team, a governance team to actually develop the actual policies and make sure that governance team is well represented across the different units. Also, depending on the level of access. If you are developing policies for presidential wing, don't go and bring people who are sitting at the level 1 or looking at general information about the hospital to come and sit in the team. You don't want them to even know what is in the document there. Yeah, because of security reasons. Okay, so clarity, actionability, enforceability, accessibility, and regular review, separate living policy from the dead. You are not developing the policy for it to be put on a website and you go and sleep. It has to be an action-oriented document that has principles we need that people can use it to either review it or ask for a review or ask for other guidelines that can be able to address inactive ambiguity in case something happens. AI has come and then we don't know what to do. So how do you address that one? You are in the hospital, you are a doctor, you have done your patient review, and you have got some lab results. That lab results independently, you according to transparency, you email it to the patient. The patient is coming to see you to discuss the result, has also done an AI review of the policy of it, and he has come with it. As you are talking, he's just taking, yes, okay, it confirms, it confirms. Then there's a part that you didn't say that the AI has said, then creates confusion. I was in a meeting like that, and I was carrying my AI review, and the doctor was talking, but the doctor was nice. He told me that he has been doing that himself as a medical doctor to check some of the things he says. And he asked me that he asked me that what did the AI say? I mentioned everything the AI said, and he told me that which aspects that he was agreeing with and which aspect that is quite insightful, that the AI is looking at it from different perspectives. And he was also looking at it from a similar perspective, but from a different angle, because he has more access to more data than the AI. So now people do that. I don't know anybody in this room who does that, but they go to the hospital with the AI interpretation of the medical report. That if they have it earlier, they can also go with it. Sometimes some people also do it after they go leave the hospital. They put it in the AI and the AI give them reply. I'm not telling the class to go around and picking your doctor in the man movie and put his report in the AI. I'm not saying that, then go back and go and say that you are wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that people do it for corroboration to check whether there's confusion in this person. For example, there may be certain things that may be the next steps that the doctor may not tell you because he wants you to keep coming for consultation and charge you again. I'm sorry to say that, but that happens. So you rather check the AI will tell you that you should look out for this, so they can ask certain questions that the doctor may not even mention. Anyway. Do not over rely on tools. Okay. Technology enables people, process, and policy carry it. The culture change is more difficult and more decisive. People will not change because the technology has come. You can use technology to enforce, but people will sometimes fall back to their old behavior when you are not looking. So you have to let them understand the policy and let them buy into the policy. So communication and then understanding is more important than just using developing and deploying the technology. How our technology can also enforce compliance. That if people don't do certain things, their salary will not be paid. Because it happens. Some hospitals do that. Until you are filled like a doctor, until you are filled, they don't want to use the electronic medical record. So they want to still write by hand. They say whether you write by hand or not, until at the end of the day, you don't fill your notes, you not be paid. Fill your notes into the computer platform so that we can help to have what you said is wrong about the patient. Doctors don't like doing that because sometimes they don't want to be held responsible. Because when you type it out, you have typed it too. But when you write it in his hand, you say you didn't read it well. Because he has written it in some funny shorthand that sometimes even other doctors find it hard to read it. So it's something, oh, you didn't read my own well. But when it's in a type format, you can't say I didn't read it well. You typed it yourself. It is there. And if you omit something, you omitted it. It is there. So we can hold you responsible. Okay. No, without visible commitment from the top, no, governance lacks authority. Sponsorship is non-negotiable. Top-down sponsorship is needed. Executive level leadership and sponsorship is needed for resources and cooperation of employees. So some doctors, some institutions, they'll write to everybody that this is the good data governance team. Accord them all courtesies when they engage with you because we want to be a proactive organization that's data-driven. So that thing is given to you. You have to follow. Frame as value and risk. Justify the decisions for data governance by by communicating the value and the risks involved. That if we don't do it, what the risk of breaches is going to be a big issue. If we do it well, our decisions are improved, our processes are improved, and our performance contract to the patient is also going to be improved. So sell the value and the risk involved. Don't go and sell fear. A program not a project. It's a program. A project has a start and end point. A program usually is continuous, always improving on itself. So go with a program perspective, not a project. But even though you're going with program perspective, have timelines of deliverables so that we can balance long-term objectives with short-term deliverables. Otherwise, people will not see any deliverable being achieved and they'll get confused and they'll say this deliverable is not working. Integrate and do not isolate. Connect governance to risk, security and compliance, and enterprise architecture. Integration matters. Let everything be integrated so that people can have a wider picture of what is happening. Above all, maturity is a journey, not a destination. Start with achievable goals, show value early, learn and keep refining. Thank you very, very much. This is the most comprehensive teaching I've done in this topic, and I've taken my time. I was not in a rush. I took my time and went through. This is the most comprehensive. You can clap for yourself, class. Okay, Stella, your hand is still up.
Yes, Prof. Before we leave, I had wanted to ask if I can about the assignment.
Yes, please.
I wanted to know if there's a limit, page limit for what we are supposed to present, the policy itself.
Last year there was no page limit, so there's no page limit because some people wanted to develop everything. In fact, some people came with so much information that I myself was surprised. So please, there's no page limit. I have to allow you to innovate yourself. And then with the communication strategy, there's no limit to. Some people did music, some people did jingles, some people did brochures. They said brochures will go for this type of clientele. Then they did the jingle for Joy FM, the one they play on radio. Then also did a TV advert. I was surprised. Some students went very far. Well, they did everything as a nice package and just coherent. So please, I've removed the gloves. You can do whatever you want to do. If you want to, some people also built websites. I remember they built a one-page website to explain the policies that will show you how to. So some people, so they got different members of the team working. Because I remember some people did website. I remember that all. I remember some people also showed their assessment protocols. How do as after developing the policy, they had toolkits. So this is what they'll use for assessment and asking questions. And because they're not doing the assessment, they are not so they are developing the policy. So you say that okay, this was the assessment model that we used to engage with the company, and these are some of the responses. All of them were simulated, but they did it. Somehow there was somebody working at Best and Desk Registry. He brought, I won't say he brought internal context, things that he knew was happening in the institution to use it there. So if your institution can adapt an institution relation to the question, maybe your question is about an agricultural firm or it's about a government, a fintech. So you may want to adopt a fintech that you know or create a fintech that you know and use it to answer the question. You're allowed to. Please, the innovation lies in your hands.
Thank you, Prof.